A lot going on a Friday night here. World Series, SmackDown, new champions. What's going to happen at Crown Jewel? What about that face-to-face that was not too far from where I was today? And who knows whatever else. And here to talk about what's going on here in the world of WWE and elsewhere is a man that is our senior wrestling analyst, a man that dabbled very briefly in the wrestling world. He was trained by a heart, not too shabby. He's also the host of the Hockey Fan Chat. He is the one and only Mr. Randy Dillon, who's here with us to kick the weekend off in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the platform that he helped build where all sports matters and all wrestling matters here, Sportzwire Radio. Randy, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Tom. And after that SmackDown, the last 15 minutes, holy shit! If you're not pumped after that, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, maybe you need a shot of espresso, you need a shot of adrenaline, you need some Mountain Dew, some big gulps, maybe all of it in between. But Randy, good to be with you. I may send the link to my buddy Barry Gutman in a few minutes, although I know Barry knows zero about wrestling, but we'll have fun with him, I'm sure. But SmackDown, we've got new tag team champions. You know, a few weeks ago, you were talking about the Motor City Machine Guns. So was TBK, and he's on assignment. We wish him well, obviously. We'll see him back soon. But we've got new champions from the Motor City Machine Guns, and people were wondering, well, how are they going to debut? And boy, they debuted, and they certainly showed why they are definitely machine guns.
Oh yeah, for those who don't know the Motor City Machine Guns are, which I don't think many which a lot of wrestling fans do, are very small. These guys are incredible, and these guys showed why they are a top tag team and well known throughout the industry. You saw they put on a clinic with DIY. Then they go on and put another great match. I wouldn't think of the great match, but they did their job well in that short tag team match with the Bloodline to win the tag team titles. They have good mic skill. They have the attitude. I think this is a smart move, and I think Triple H is taking a playbook from what we saw in NXT with Ethan Page. Got the title so quick, and you saw how quickly he grew. It's like, listen, we know these guys. Why not give them the title and let them get exposed? And I think it's the right move there. I think it's the right move for the tag team division on top of that.
And how big is it for them to come right off the bat in WWE? They've been here a few weeks, and now all of a sudden they're carrying gold.
I think it's huge. I think this is huge. This is something we didn't see, I think, ever in WWE. Very rare when a new talent comes in all of a sudden when tag team go, especially someone who's made their name outside of WWE. Maybe we've seen it a few times. I think the big one that's familiar is Carlito being John Cena for the U.S. title. That's the one I'm.
Santino Marella, didn't he come in and win the Intercontinental title?
Yeah, but those guys, they weren't established. WWE established them in their own way. These guys, people know who these guys are. And just 2 weeks in,
AJ Styles came in. You know, you would say AJ Styles, not a championship, but he came in. You know, he did have some beat behind him. I mean, you could throw that in there. But yeah, to win a championship right away off the bat, it's very rare in WWE history, and outside WWE talent right off the bat comes in and wins gold and wins it off the Bloodline. I mean, doesn't matter who was in the Bloodline, they still won belts.
Exactly. One of the top angles right now in WWE, they're really setting up for a huge match at Survivor Series, and you just take the tag team titles like that. It shows, one, the confidence I think they have in the Motor City Machine Guns. I think their name itself will get exposed because we've heard that already the past few weeks, how they've already mentioned they're running TNA. So definitely these guys are getting exposed much quicker.
Although I would point out we still have a crown jewel to go to next week.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a rematch coming up this crown jewel with them. So
okay, well, let me ask you a question on that. With crown jewel next weekend, then would you then see a title change?
I wouldn't, because after what we saw now at the end of SmackDown with the Usos kind of back together, they're the kind of a side in their thorn. There's no longer, you have maybe one guy like Cody Rhodes before, or you had the 4-on-3 with Cody, Kevin, and Randy versus them, and with Jake Athlete. Now it's like you have Roman, you have the Usos. There's some angry people, and the numbers are catching up to them.
Well, it's been about time.
Yeah.
But then you think then that the Motor City Machine Guns then will hold the titles, and they'll hold them here for a while.
I think you have to. I think you have to give the Motor City Machine Guns a fair maybe few months. And this is really going to get interesting because usually now things are starting to get placed for Mania. So
Right.
the plan is for the.
Well, I mean, now when you get to Survivor Series, that means you're going into Mania season.
Yep.
Think about it, right? You got Survivor Series, Rumble. I mean, you have Elimination Chamber. You have a few other pay-per-views you might go in between, but you've got let's go Survivor Series, Rumble, Mania. Those are your three. I mean, Chamber, but you're basically mathematically 4 months, 4.5 months. Even today is October 25th, right? So that would put us 5+ months to WrestleMania. So that means we're going into Mania season if you want to go down that road.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. And you saw the importance of last year's Survivor Series, the return of CM Punk and how it was put to set up.
And Randy Orton, by the way, nobody talked about. We kind of got all swept by the wayside. Right? Randy Orton, that would have been a big deal.
1 year return of Randy Orton, but CM Punk, that originally was supposed to set up the Seth Rollins and CM Punk feud, but due to Punk's injury, never did. Things had to change, but you're going to get a feel things now are kind of getting set. Like we saw with Logan Paul and Kevin Owens, like there was rumbling there that they were going to do something. You saw so LA Knight kind of getting intrigued with that world title with AJ Styles. So definitely little things now are going to get set for WrestleMania. So I expect the Motor City Machine Guns to have the title up to Rumble, or they're going to take into Mania.
Wow, go into Mania.
It's a big if, but I think they're going to have it at least.
Big if. I would say
that's a bigger if, but I think until Rumble, they'll have the titles.
Okay, all right. Rumble's 3 months, 3+ months. Okay, that would make sense. But speaking of Kevin Owens, what do you think? What's going on there? I mean, we see Triple H come in early in the show and kick things off, and Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. Speaking of Kevin Owens, we spoke a lot about that last week on the show, but what do you think about Kevin Owens right now in this Kevin Owens Randy Orton situation?
Two things really intriguing. One, how they're keeping Kevin Owens off camera and they're still involving him in a big storyline. Usually if someone's going, you just kind of push them away. Like they could have said, Kevin Owens, he's suspended indefinitely. You're not going to hear and talk about him, and no one will ever talk about him again. But they're still talking about him. I think telling me there's talks he's going to resign. Nothing guaranteed or reported yet.
You spoke about that last week on the show, and I asked you, well, what about AEW? And you were like, nah, he ain't going to AEW.
AEW we'll get into later because I'm going to wheel off a lot. But with
Kevin Owens, wheel off. All right.
But for Kevin Owens, I think WWE, listen, he's one of Triple H's guys, a Paul Levesque guy. He's a Swiss tool knife. Like there's a lot you can do with Kevin Owens, and
he's been in the picture. You know, he's a utility player, like you said, Swiss Army knife. You know, you can put him in a world title match. You can put him in a world title feud. You can kind of bounce him around. So you could, I guess, make those arguments, but I guess he hasn't re-signed those still. So I mean,
nothing. Yeah, like they're. I think with how everything broke down with the Lucha Bros and how everything got out, and then Tony Khan playing that the card, putting on time for injury, which he had every right to do, whether you like it or not. I think now I think they want to be quiet about these things because how everything just blew up there.
Right, but he hasn't re-signed. So what I was trying to get at is that AEW did get all this network deal money. So theoretically, they could overpay and just give Kevin Owens the moon. And we talked about this last week on the show. Guys still take that money. They take that money because, again, it's less dates. You know, you don't have to do as much. And it's almost like you're robbing a bank. I hate to put it that way in those terms, but I mean, that's kind of the way it goes in a sense.
I think the advantage Kevin Owens has in WWE is the relationship with Triple H. I think he knows Triple H is going to use him. Triple H is going to fight for him, give him these opportunities. So I think for him, does he want the money kind of get pushed to the side, or does he want to still be a top face?
I don't know. That's a question I don't know.
But I would say that he had more of an advantage in that than going to AEW. Like I know he's friends with the Young Bucks. But listen, there's only so many friends the Young Bucks.
Well, I would think in wrestling, people are friends with a lot of people in different places. I don't necessarily think just because you're friends, and I understand why you referenced it, why him being friends with the Young Bucks would all of a sudden decide, well, that's the reason he could sign with AEW. Ultimately, it's a matter of like, look, if Tony Khan backs up the truck. And
he will back up the truck. Look at Daniel Garcia, how much he's making.
Well, I mean, but we've seen this time and time again with these different talents. I mean, Mercedes Moné, Saraya, Edge. It's a long list of different Adam Copeland. I mean, it's a long list of people. So, but otherwise, you liked how the show opened tonight.
I thought that was a great open. Randy Orton getting in Triple H's face.
Hot crowd, also Brooklyn. Back in
Brooklyn
Barclays.
crowd is always hot for I think any wrestling. Like I'm not sure.
I would happen to know. Actually,
Yeah.
I would happen to know. That's
like the Brooklyn crowd, just the hot crowd.
I should have went tonight, but then I was like, I go on Sportswire. The people want.
You could have done a live stream there from their Tom.
You know what? I don't have all 10 of my lights. I don't have my laptop. I don't have my microphone. I was actually literally where I was today. I actually could have got to Barclays in probably like 20 minutes. 20 minutes. But I was like, you know what? I'm on Sportswire. The people are out there. Zilla's here every week, and there's somebody out there. My man Barry Gutman, who literally he probably lives closer to Barclays than I would. I just happen to be a little closer to Barclays than he was today. But okay, so you like the opening, you like the fire there with Triple H. Triple H getting involved in a segment that doesn't happen too often. What about the face-to-face with champion and champion?
That I thought was interesting. I liked how Gunther came in and interrupted the woe. I liked how the back and forth go. The only thing that's really annoying me here, it could be done right with a lot of time, could be a main event at WrestleMania in a year or two. I don't know why.
It ain't going to be main event this year's coming. Well, next year's really, technically. But it ain't going to be a main event then, no?
Exactly. I think it's just I feel like they needed to do something with both guys to get them kind of rolling. I really don't know what Gunther's plan is going forward. Is there so much, especially with that world title, there's so much going on. But I think we're seeing, aside from Gunther, that he's talking more. Before he wouldn't talk as much. I think
he didn't need to. He was kicking everybody's butts. He was basically
Sorry, Tom, but I think as a world champion, if you want to be a top face, you got to talk. They're not, unless you have a good manager like Heyman, but it's
well, Lesnar, to an extent, Roman. I mean, generally speaking, unless you're even Undertaker, to an extent, you had Paul Bearer. So let me ask you then this question. You make an interesting point. Gunther's been champion now a few months. How would you assess his run as world champion so far on the Raw end?
I think it's been good. I think we're seeing a different side of Gunther.
Good. You didn't say great. You had to think about it.
There's things he can work on. There's definitely, I think, things he can work on. I think him hiding from Sami Zayn, I felt was a little bit of I know he was playing that heel, but at the end of the day, it was more of him just that blemish. He accepted Randy Orton's challenge. Okay, no problem. But Sami Zayn, it was kind of like a runaway. I like the interaction with Brett. I like the interaction with Goldberg. I feel he's shying away from, again, Damian Priest, a guy kind of like a beef with him. So he's had his moments on the mic where he's come strong, and then you saw him Raw on the promo he threw, thing going to SmackDown, it just kind of fell flat. So the things he can still work on. But I think overall for his first reign, it's been good, with the improvement definitely to come.
What do you think could be done to make it great?
I just think his promo skills when he's on a ring needs to be better. I think when he's backstage, I feel like it kind of falls there. In a ring, he can back it up. But when he's backstage doing a camera promo, it's just not the same.
Well, I guess we'll have to find out. But I guess then from what you're telling me, it comes in a different way. But is his title run the way you see it similar to Cody Rhodes? In that it's not great, not the worst, but it's maybe a circumstance of your environment, more or less.
No, I think his title run started better off than Cody Rhodes, but I just think after Sami Zayn, it just kind of fell flat because now
you don't have opponents.
Yeah, he just gets thrown, but he has opponents in Damian Priest, which I don't know what they're waiting for, but I think it's also the fact that you have CM Punk and Seth Rollins kind of lurking in the mirrors where it's you got to give them the world title.
Well, would you want to see CM Punk get a world title shot?
I don't think CM Punk needs the world title, but I think it comes down to what he said last year in an interview with Ariel Helwani. He wants to main event WrestleMania. And I think the main event of WrestleMania deserve the championship. A main event of WrestleMania kind of deserve the world championship match to be the last match. It's very rare where you don't have that as the main event unless the star power is there. I think you can make the argument with Hogan and Rock, they should have main event just because that star power we saw with Cena and Rock the first time.
Yeah.
And then other times we saw.
But remember WrestleMania, when you talk about Hogan and Rock, it was one night. Now it's a 2-night extravaganza. Years ago, it was one night. That was that. So basically, it was a once-in-a-lifetime match.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the main event, but people don't seem to remember where it was in the card.
No, because that match just stood on. I think that with Punk and Rollins with his history with the belt, Punk, I think the talk about he can go back and think how he was the longest champion before Roman, before
Punk was the longest running champion. Correct me if I'm wrong. In since Cena had a run
in 07, and then Punk.
Did JBL have a run for about a year?
JBL, I think 10 months, about 8 to 9.
10 months. So they would talk. So then it's got to be Cena after Diesel. It's Cena and then Punk before Roman, right? Because Diesel had just about literally 1 year, and then after that, you're talking about the longest run would have been Cena's. We talked about the 1 year just then, and then Punk's run for 400 plus days.
Yeah. So I think you add that to the element of their Punk and Rollins feud. I think the world title might add something more to it.
But CM Punk shouldn't win the world title at this point in his career. He doesn't need to win the world title.
There is rumor saying if he's going to fight Gunther at Survivor Series. If that is true, I am going to boo like crazy throughout that whole match. You're going to hear one guy boo Tom, and that's going to be me throughout that whole match.
Well, Randy, you're always you're always down the middle, not too high, not too low, but yet you're going to boo. Why in Vancouver? For those that are tuned in here, I'll get to the chat in a minute. Randy's actually going to be there at Survivor Series, Randy Moon. You were actually going to be there, sir.
Live, yeah. And the reason why is, Gunther losing to Punk doesn't do anything for Gunther. Punk, you don't know if the guy can stay healthy for that long.
But maybe you want to maximize Punk's ability as a draw now by trying to the hot shot angle, book him for the title, see what he can do with it. Because at this point in his career, realistically, what do you get left from Punk? We talked about this when he came back to WWE last year on Sportswire. What can you realistically get from this guy? And don't forget, he was in the Royal Rumble and he was injured for months afterwards. So you're talking about a guy that's probably closer to 50 than he is closer to 40 at this point in his career. And you might have to look at it and say, well, what do I have left from this guy? So maybe if they're going down that road, I don't know. I personally, if it's up to me, I think Gunther should keep it as world champion at least until WrestleMania, if not longer, because here's why. He's the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion in history. He was unstoppable. Nobody could beat him. But then you put him in a match with CM Punk and you take the title off him. It's got that whole vibe of Kevin Owens and Goldberg all those years ago. Remember that whole vibe there? Goldberg comes in, let's hot shot a thing going into Goldberg and Lesnar, and Goldberg wins the title when Owens was doing great as champion, and it killed what they were going to have with Owens and Jericho. So to me, and again, I don't know. We still got at least another month and just about a month or so until Survivor Series. But to me, again, what do I know? I know nothing about wrestling. But the facts are, to me, Gunther should at least be world champion going into Mania.
Mania is going to be interesting. I would say if you're going to take the title off, it can't be a one-on-one match because it's going to just destroy him. I really thought him losing clean to Sami Zayn was such a shock. I didn't know how he recovered, and thankfully he was able to. But for him to
had to lose eventually. He hadn't lost a match in 2 years almost?
Yeah, about 2 eventually. You have to lose.
Listen, everybody, it's wrestling, Randy. You can't win forever. I mean, I know Goldberg in his head. I saw the Vice documentary. He wanted to keep going, but you have to lose eventually. I mean, this is the way it goes. You got to let other people have a chance.
I always say this with wrestling: it has to be the right time, the right place. WrestleMania, right place, right time. I think the Sami Zayn build just wasn't enough. I think if they insert him a little bit earlier in the conversation, it could have been more believable. It was just kind of so short. And then you had Chad Gable kind of humming around as well, where it just felt weird. For Gunther to lose the world title to Punk, it does nothing for him because then who are you going to put him against? Are you going to make him go against Braun Breaker? Or is he just going to beat up people for random amount of weeks? If he loses the world title in a fatal four-way, then it's like you have a little bit way to work and you can only give the title back to him down the road. You could say, though,
you kind of took the title off him in cheap fashion almost.
At least it protects him a little bit better, though, because then you can give him the title right after Mania, if that's the route with him and Punk. Because there's some other guys you can work with. Jey Uso, I don't think he's going to be tagging with Jimmy for
I don't think the Usos should be a a tag team anything more than what? Maybe going into a Survivor Series match of some sorts, right? And then after that, they need to go out on their own and see what they could do as single stars for their brand. That's at least what I would think.
Jay's already shown it, and this is why, like I said last week, for the Booker and me, if you want Gunther to keep the world title till Mania, the opponent for him will be Jey Uso, because you have that history. One, of their match last year where Jay technically had him beat, wasn't for Jimmy. Two, Jay beat in Braun Breaker, and he was able to make the upset. And the argument could be he should still be Intercontinental title. So you have a story there to work with.
All right, but let me play devil's advocate for a minute, not to poo-pah that and not to put you down as a booker.
Oh, I guess we should become bookers of our own company.
You know what? I know I see WC, I see Liz in here. The last thing I want to do is get into booking, because God knows some of the things that have gone on in backyard wrestling the last few days. I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But while you drink that, I do want to ask you, though, Jey Uso, right? You talk about Jey Uso, right? You talk about maybe him main eventing against Gunther for a world title, but not to poo-pah that. But is he viable, though, you think, where he could legitimately win a world heavyweight championship?
I think he has.
It's like you have to think. If you have to think about it, what's the rule of thumb? You know this. If you have to think about them being a world champion, then they're not. It's like the Sami Zayn argument. Everybody talks about LA Knight's another one, right? And these guys are so over with the fans, but really, if you have to think about it, they're not really world champion material. They're kind of, again, like Kevin Owens. Even though Kevin Owens has won the world title, he's won it. Sure, he's had a couple runs with the title, but really, they fall into that Swiss Army knife utility player role. So really, Jey Uso, he's great. He could definitely, the fans love him. He's got the glasses. He's got the reactions. He can wrestle. He's got the name, but it doesn't scream world champion. Just like the whole situation with Sammy in Montreal last year. There were people saying, this is the moment. You got to take the title off Roman. But really, Sami Zayn, he played a role, and he did a great job with that. And that sometimes, like you said, in wrestling is very important. I could talk to a lot of wrestlers all over the place. I watch wrestlers in different ways. And in the case of Jey Uso, I look at him as some wrestlers that come on here on Sportswire, where some of them, maybe they could be main eventers in the place that they wrestle in, or they come on here and they have a certain ability. But really, if you have to think about it, then they're not the one.
You're absolutely right, Tom. And the thing I think about why I had it with Jey Uso is what's next for him. Can he carry the run? Because we see in AEW, hey, they give someone a title. Okay, it's always what you're going to do next. And the argument, a perfect example is Liv Morgan. 2 years ago, she won the Women's World title from Ronda Rousey. What was next? Really nothing.
How about remember when Nikki Cross won the women's title? I
think that was just more of a kind of like a lightning in a bottle, a short kind of fix. We're going to give back to Charlotte. But for Liv, they didn't know what was next for her. Run was dry, and they had to take the title off her. You look at her now, you know what's next for her, and her run's been successful.
Sometimes that happens with championship runs. So sometimes we talk about this all the time. Sometimes it's easier to be a chaser than the one that's being chased. I mean, listen, I kind of think, Daniel Bryan was an example of that. I think that Daniel Bryan, when he was where the fans were behind him, wanting him to win, he was far better. The first run he had as a champion, it was almost like he just found ways to by every hook and cranny, but he came across weak. But then he won the title when the fans were behind him. He didn't have the luck, and he lost the title. Had to vacate the title because of the original injury, the concussions. And sometimes it's better to be the one that's a chaser than a chaser. I always thought that Austin was better chasing the title than when he held it, even though he was a good champion. There's no question Austin was definitely a great champion. He was, no question. But I thought that the reactions that he had was even better when he was chasing the title. So sometimes that's kind of more or less where I go with it.
No, absolutely. You're right. With Austin, we saw like him chasing, battling McMahon, just trying to get the title. It was like, when he got it after, what do you do? It's always, what do you do next in wrestling?
You stun everybody, you beat everybody up, you have that. And I think that's where you have to think about it. And maybe Gunther should stay champion for a little while longer, because you may not have that person. We are here on Sportswire Radio. I want to get to some comments. I see Liz has got a bunch of comments for me. I want to give Liz a big shout out because we had WCE's Fight or Fright Day 1. And I didn't get a chance to watch the show fully, but when I get off the air. I'm going to watch some of it because I know I'm going to be talking about it on Halloween, Liz, because Mr. Brightside's here on Halloween. They got this guy, Mr. Brightside, right, Randy? You got to check him out because he's basically, Joker 2 bombed at the box office. But this guy, Mr. Brightside, he actually doesn't bomb because he's a clip with me on TikTok had like 900 views.
Yeah.
YouTube here, he had almost 300 views. He was here in the IMF shows last week on Sportzwire. That drew almost 200 views. So I'm expecting big numbers from him because he's definitely not a box office bomb. But in our little circuit, he's definitely a huge draw. He's going to be here right after Halloween when WC has their show with STBW, A Devil's Playground. So the Backyard Brawl, we'll talk about that. So I want to give her a nice little shout out. But let me get to some comments here. People have some questions. We'll do that. Hello there, Zilla. You've seen Zilla before. Zilla's usually not here too much for wrestling, but she is. My man, Barry Gutman. Barry, I sent you the link, but Barry doesn't really know wrestling. What he knows is how to make candles. He knows how to, I guess, talk about games. He's a big gaming streamer. He's a hardcore gamer. I appeared on a gaming podcast yesterday. I don't really know much about video games anymore, but I was on there trying to help a brother out, and we did that. And yes, hello there to Liz. That I just spoke about Liz. And Zilla did want to ask, though, overall impressions. Obviously, 2 thumbs up on the Machine Guns winning the tag team titles. Correct?
Yeah.
Good deal. Appreciate that. I got a good one from Liz, actually. Do you see Paul Heyman coming back at Survivor Series?
This is interesting because we've never seen a face Paul Heyman before. This is where, like,
I don't think it's possible.
I don't think it's possible. And I don't like Paul Heyman. He's a genius. And we've seen him work great. Brock Lesnar. We've seen him work great with CM Punk. We've seen him work great with Roman. We've seen him bomb with Ryback. We've seen him do so with Cesaro. Paul Heyman with the bloodline, like, he doesn't be with The Rock. And he's just gonna stand there, like, with Solo after what Solo did with him. I don't see Heyman and what Heyman did after. I don't see him kind of joining the bloodline. Like, I could see Heyman kind of being part of the story, and they bring him back because you need something political with The Rock in charge eventually, but maybe not Survivor Series. I think a little bit more down the road.
Rumble?
Until the wise men come. Yeah, Rumble. Because if they're going to really pick up with Cody, Rock, and Roman, then Heyman needs to show up.
Do you need Heyman as a weekly character going forward or no?
I think so. If Roman's not going to be there every week, The Rock's not going to be there every week. Cody can't just do everything on his own. If the plan is a triple threat, or even if they do Rock versus Roman, like, Heyman carried the story with Roman.
So
being
who's
part-time.
Heyman aligning himself with?
I think first off it's going to be Roman. Down the road, I'm not too sure. But I think for the first little bit, you're going to see a little reunion with him with Roman.
Would he turn on Roman?
I could see him turning on Roman, not with Solo, with Jacob Fatu, I think. But I think Jacob Fatu, the stuff he does remind me of the young Brock Lesnar, just being how destructive he could be. And that's where I think Heyman taking under wing could maybe help that.
And Jacob Fatu is a man we actually know on Sportswire. Why do we know him? Because I had interviewed a wrestler 2 months ago, Tarzan Duran, who actually wrestled Jacob Fatu last year. So we watched actually a Jacob Fatu match on Sportswire Radio. I actually watched it. So yeah, we did. Yes, we had a chance to watch it. And Tarzan Duran was whacked out of his mind, though, to be honest. He was high and he was 100 degrees outside. But he talked about it in his best way possible. Let me get to some more comments. I got a bunch of them. I believe that Triple H has a big plan for Kevin Owens, and he's going to get that deal. You agree, Randy, or what?
I agree with that. Absolutely. It's going to happen. Otherwise, he would have just been pushed the curve by now. We thought with Ricochet, the minute they knew he wasn't going to resign, just wrote him off. We thought, like, Dean Ambrose.
Ricochet, I don't think was on the level of Kevin Owens. I mean, I know a lot of the IWC internet wrestling community really loves Ricochet. Ricochet's a great talent.
But
yeah.
But brought in by Triple H, we thought with Bobby Lashley, kind of got pushed to the curb there after. Like, knew even we were signed with an injury. Triple H could have pulled that card, but it's like he knew, like, no point of keeping him. If there were,
I just think, I mean, Ricochet is a name. I mean, I'll get to Ricochet in a few minutes, actually, but sort of related to Ricochet, if it makes sense. But yeah, I think that's a good analogy. CM Punk versus Cena at WrestleMania.
if Rollins can't go, that's a great option down the road. Like, see, because
I mean, Cena's last year is next year. He's supposed to have this big run. We're going to see him wrestle a lot more, right, in 25. So, I mean, we
exactly.
know the history with Punk and Cena. You got
Yeah.
to do it one more time, right?
Yeah, I think definitely. But again, it all depends on Punk's health. Like, Punk's health is just such a
I
wild
think
card.
Punk's more of a wild card injury wise than Cena.
Exactly. Cena, you just got to worry about that bald spot showing up on camera. But you know, I love John Cena, ladies and gentlemen. It's just kind of funny every time you see that bald spot on camera.
Yeah, you know what? I guess Father Time gets to people in different ways, I suppose. I don't know. Liz agrees with me. Thanks, Liz. Want to say hello to my buddy Hillbilly Tilly. I want to speak to him for a minute because I just heard from one of your talents, AJ Morgan. I'm going to bring AJ Morgan back onto Sportswire next month. I had a great conversation with him out of the blue and have a big plan. I can't talk about on the air, Mr. Tilly, but you'll definitely like it. So I appreciate you tuning in here. I got a question for you, Randy. Are we going to see Braun Breaker versus Jacob Fatu?
Down the line, we better. Like, what we saw on Monday night was definitely a future main event somewhere. Braun Breaker and Jacob Fatu, the energy these guys bring, the destruction, with the moves that they do for big guys, it's going to be incredible. Right now, it doesn't make sense story-wise because you got to have a story to sell a big match.
Sure.
But down the road, definitely, I can see these two coming against each other.
Interesting match. And family names, right? Steiner name, and you got the Samoan heritage there and the dynasty, and very interesting match. I don't know, Liz, if I should be a booker. I know I'm not going to say what our history is together on the air, but yes, we know each other very well. And, I obviously know WC very well. Let's just put it that way. Rumors are, is he coming with Zilla? I don't know about that. Hello there to Hillbilly Tilly. All right. Actually, speaking of Ricochet real quick, I wanted to ask you, Samantha Irvin, no more. What did you make of that? That was out of left field, right? That was pretty.
That was a left field. So there's, again, I said this last week, don't believe everything you see on the internet because people were jumping up saying she's going to run to AEW and all that. Don't believe everything on the internet. What I think, I read everything, and this is my opinion. She is talented, and I think she wants to put opportunities, but I don't think with W it's going to work. And I feel for herself, if she wants to take these opportunities, she has to part ways. The thing is, people need to understand with her, she wasn't employed. She wasn't a contract member W who had a contract to have to fulfill. She was employed, so she pretty much could come and go as she pleased. And I think she realized she wanted to take an opportunity to try it out. There's also, she had a family, she had a kid, and she wants to be more a part of them. So I think it's a personal decision. Definitely, like I said, it's a prize out of left field, but I think she's off to do bigger things. That's my opinion.
I think most people will miss some of her assets on the air in addition to her voice, that's for sure. But no AEW. No AEW. You don't think AEW?
Unless Tony Khan's willing to pay her a buttload of money until Justin Roberts hit the road, Jack, she hasn't gone.
Well, I mean, listen, I don't think she's going to draw, to be honest, a single viewer. I don't think she's going to draw them a single viewer, should it be?
No. Like, listen, like, she did a big part in character. Like, her announcing was a big part of character development. Like, how she pronounced Gunther, I think, added more. Chelsea Green, like, I just think it made her Chelsea's persona even better.
But I don't think if she went to AEW, it would add them any viewers.
No,
it's unique to WWE. She does great. I agree with you with the character development, the way she announces the wrestlers, for sure. But I don't think if Tony Khan opened up the truck for her to come in, I don't think he would do anything for them.
And it would be a short, because everyone just want to hear her announce. So start the end of the match. Okay, in the middle of the match, you're just going to kind of go back and forth. So it's like,
yeah, I don't see what it would bring to the table. But okay, that was still caught me off guard. Lillian Garcia's back, blast from the past. I mean, that was that. It
was kind of funny she's back, especially. I really want to see if they could reenact Triple H chasing her again. I don't know if people remember that clip where Triple H chased her. It's just kind of funny, that photo. And I really wanted to say, well, is she going to be chased again by the game? But
Well, I gotta say, she hasn't aged much at all. I mean, for somebody that was like, we're talking what 20 plus years ago, right? In her heyday, she don't look that much different. I mean,
No.
you talk about John Cena, his bald spot, but Lillian Garcia don't look that much different. I mean, so that's good. I mean, I think people will like that. That's always a familiar face.
Oh,
Shane David, yep, good.
So, and I think for Lillian, like I know though she made a little mistakes earlier in the show, but give her. I think everything happened so quickly for her coming back. Give her next week. I think it's gonna be much better, much cleaner.
Yeah, I would think that realistically speaking, that she's probably not watched the product a lot, so she's probably getting used to pronunciating these wrestlers and being more familiar with them. It's almost like when you cover something, or if you're watching a sports team, right? Think about hockey, right? You've covered the team 15 years ago, but you don't know the current team, right? So you have to now go out and familiarize yourself with them, watch the players, look at their information, things like that. So it'll take her time. I don't know if it'll be next week, but definitely I would imagine by the next few weeks. Exactly.
I would say a few weeks for sure. He's not going to do Crown Jewel because with everything over there, but I would say by Survivor Series, she'll be calling the main event. By calling that.
Okay, well, I would. Good point. Good analogy. I want to say hello to Shane Davidson. Not TBW uploading an episode. I'm not sure what's the reference there, but yeah, they're on. But I'm on Sportswire now, so that's a different audience. I don't know what the analogy is, but yeah, I mean, if you want to pop on and say hi, you can. Let me know, but we'll see. Okay. Yes, we're happy. Alan Michaels is happy. Yes, Alan will be here next week. He'll be here next week on Sportswire. He had a few things to say off his chest earlier. And also, yes, Chaotic. I don't know what Chaotic knew, but I know that I'm on Sportswire now. But we're happy that we're here and not there, Zilla. But thank you for tuning in there. We'll go with that. Okay, so, I want to get, because in a little while, I'll probably get somebody on, because Rob Maraska is going to give us his Met eulogy, right? Speaking of funerals, Rob Maraska will do that. He'll actually give us a death. Unfortunately, he's the Grim Reaper of Sportswire. Right? There is some deaths in the world of baseball he'll have to talk about, and not including his baseball team. But you want to say something about AEW at the beginning of the show. So what is on your mind about AEW? I'm almost afraid to ask, but what did you want to say?
AEW... you can see they have a little bit of direction, but it is such a mess on what they're doing. I don't know what they're trying to pull off here. You saw Sammy Guevara with Shelton Benjamin, and Shelton Benjamin with a big win, but Shelton's 50, and people now they're saying, "Oh, he's gonna get that world title match." It's like
Shelton Benjamin hadn't won a match in his last 2.5 years in WWE, right? After he held the tag titles with Cedric Alexander, did he win a match of any sort? That took 2.5 years?
Maybe a dark match, but it's like,
I mean, a real match on a match that was a caliber match with a worthy opponent. He hadn't won a match in WWE for 2.5 years. I got to think a real match.
Exactly, and he's a great talent, but it's like, what? Sammy Guevara's been there for day one. Why are you kind of pushing him to the side?
I guess, can you think about it at this point? Who's a bigger draw to you? Is Shelton Benjamin a bigger draw over Sammy Guevara? I guess that's I mean, what? I don't know how to answer that. I mean, I don't know how to answer a 50-year again. And Shelton Benjamin is a fantastic talent.
Absolutely.
Shelton Benjamin is probably one of those guys. Unfortunately, is one of those greatest wrestlers to never win a world title in that.
Never have a world title match, for crying out loud.
Right. No question. He had great runs as Intercontinental Champion. Really was a great part of the Ruthless Aggression era. Tag team with Charlie Haas. Did a lot of great things, but I don't know if Shelton Benjamin at this point in his career should be, winning matches against established AEW stars that have been in that promotion. I understand maybe you're trying to establish him, but Shelton Benjamin's, at this point in his career, is more of a guy that I'm going to use his name to help my younger talents to try to get them to places to help my company in the long term. I don't know. But again, I know nothing about wrestling, Randy.
Yeah, exactly. But if he's winning matches and doing promos backstage, you have belief in something. Mercedes Moné, I don't even know if she's on AEW TV or not. She's become irrelevant. That was
my point about making money like a bandits. I mean, the money that she's being paid, was it $10 million? I heard, or something like that.
Rumor, 10 million. But it's like, what is she like? I don't even know that her on TV or not. the whole Adam Cole MJF thing, like, it's so weird because they put so much time and effort, energy. They ruined MJF character last year, making him a face. Now they turned him heel, and they still want to go this way. The only, like, the whole John Moxley destroying the AEW roster doesn't make sense because Bully Ray actually said this, and it really made sense. John Moxley was the guy 2 years ago after the whole brawl came out, defended AEW. Now he's the guy who wants to change it, beating it up. It just doesn't make sense in that sense. The only thing that does make sense is kind of Orange Cassidy Frank getting beat up. He can get a title match, but that's to the point. What else was I going to say about AEW?
Well, ratings were, 637,000.
Yep, the ratings are down. The Young Bucks and Jack Perry, get them off. Like, they're irrelevant at this point. And for the love of God, get Chris Jericho off TV. We all got mad when everyone complained about W when Vince was running, because he was booking things like this. He was booking things like that. One guy, it feels like Jericho's that guy in AEW where if we just got to put the title in just because to keep him around relevant, he's our guy. But it's just like he's not doing anything for anyone at this point. So why are you just randomly giving him titles?
And there's a difference with him versus, let's say, a Sting, the way they use Sting, because Sting was such an iconic figure, such an iconic draw to people that just having him there definitely helps you in terms of just more or less building still your company. Whereas when it comes to, let's say, a Jericho's not in that vein. So at the end of the day, Jericho, more or less, doesn't need to be in title matches. Jericho should be a guy that, if you're going to use him, again, I don't know wrestling, but I would think Jericho, with his age and his name, you don't want to overexpose him. So you want to use him in ways that his match is a match that I want to see, because I'm not seeing him every week. He's not on my TV screen every week. So realistically speaking, with Jericho, I would just want to put him in matches once or twice a month, a la, again, guys like Undertaker, the way they were used, guys like Brock Lesnar, because Jericho's that name for you. So instead of putting him in with different guys, I would use him in that way. But again, what do I know?
Like the comparison, I would say Sting and TNA, he won titles and he was around, but he was in and out and he was doing things with other talent. You saw the work he did earlier with guys at Abyss. Christian,
Nick Aldis. How about Nick Aldis?
AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle. Like, Sting was around and he knew when to go and when to come to draw. Jericho, every week you see him and he's the center of that program.
I think what's hypocritical about it is that Jericho years ago was the guy that said, well, I'm not going to hang around. I'm going to be the guy that I'm going to make sure I help the younger talent. And, I'm going to do everything I can to not be like the guys before me. But he's really become that and some. So that's where it kind of draws a line of hypocriticalness.
Yeah. And the last thing I'm going to say about AEW is I really think they screwed up with Will Ospreay not pairing with Don Callis as a heel. I know AEW has so many goddamn heels and they want to make Ospreay the baby face of this company, but he has a little bit of work to do on his mic skill. But I think pairing him with Don Callis would have been perfect because helping him with his mic skill. And Don Callis is truly, really one of the better talkers there. Like the promo he cut with every promo he cut when he was Kenny Omega, when he turned in Omega, when with work with Jericho last year. Like, this guy knows what he's doing and get attention on the mic to get that heat. And he's really the one guy you want to be pairing people with to help young talent in the history he has with Will Ospreay. Him being working with Ospreay, but not technically working to be a mouthpiece to help him out creating his promos, it's not doing anything for Ospreay. And we haven't seen Ospreay now, 5 weeks? And he said, I can do the grind. I travel back and forth. Now he hasn't been on TV for like 3 weeks.
Well, that goes to show you again another talent, right? Ospreay was brought in with a lot of hype, a lot of money was spent on him, and you don't know what to do with him. What's the point of bringing in talent?
Yeah. And then I think the big thing everyone's hoping Shane McMahon sighting is going to save AEW, but I say this one.
It brings up right now. So with AEW, I think that Shane McMahon will not debut on AEW, or maybe I'm wrong about it. What do you think?
I think he's going to debut, but I've said this from day one about the rumor Shane. If he's not helping backstage, helping to run things, and he's just coming as a character to get views on television, you're going to be messing things up way more than you can. Because Shane, he's never.
Well, was it you at TBK that said last week on the show that really, as long as Tony Khan is in charge, even guys like Jeff Jarrett was a guy that had some success in TNA Impact. TNA did draw over 1 million plus views. They were profitable, in his words. The company was profitable for a number of years. And you've got him. You would think a guy like Jeff Jarrett would be a mine. So why then would be any different with Shane McMahon if Jeff Jarrett's not being used? And on top of that, as long as Tony Khan's in charge, he's the one with the money. So realistically, Shane McMahon may only just be a character. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
The only reason I think Shane McMahon might have any leeway because his last name is McMahon, and you kind of know his.
But he's not credited with the vision of WWE, though.
He's not credited, but he knows the ins and outs. I think he's been around the business enough to understand everything. But
Tony Khan's going to feel, though, well, I got the AEW TV deal. AEW's gotten all out. We were at Wembley. Tony Khan's going to, go ahead.
This is what drives me crazy about Tony Khan is this all started with Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks back in 2018 pulling off that pay-per-view. Tony Khan had nothing to do with that. If you watch the Cody Rhodes documentary, Becoming Cody Rhodes, he said we put up the money and we took a chance and it became a success. Tony Khan saw that success. And ever since, and listen, AEW had some success, but now it's like they're still living off that past success and they're not moving.
Well, Bischoff made the point that, listen, TNT and TBS have had AEW, but really AEW hasn't really had any significant rating success now on going on 3 years now. Well, remember, the end of 24. So realistically speaking, the days of 1 million views now is 2 years. 2 years. I mean, what did they start? What did they start the year off with? What, 800,000, right? I remember when we talked about 800,000, 900,000. That wasn't good. I'm here long enough on Sportswire where they did get to 1 million. Punk got them over 1 million, but now 637,000. I mean, are we going to say 6 months from now 550, 575 is good? The company is decreasing year after year.
And the reports of streaming, like I've said this, I live in Canada. I can stream Raw anywhere, W anywhere, and it's a good benefit. But at the end of the day, how much is that going to change your audience attention? Like, it's just going to mean people can access it later, but it's still not going to help that much. And I think the problem with AEW, why it worked in the first few years, we saw different talent coming up. Now we're seeing these guys in W just keep coming out. John Moxley once again. He's having the title. We see the Hurt Business getting a relaunch, and
which is what Zilla wants to ask next. I mean, what you're basically doing then is recycling WWE names. I mean, John Moxley was AEW champion before. He's a WWE name though originally. Hurt Business. I mean, 2020 that was great. 2020 to 21 was great, but that's years ago now. So their mystique is really nothing.
Exactly, and like Bobby Lashley and a lot of other people have come on and said, we've asked Triple H, can we get the Hurt Business back on? But the thing that I look at, you guys broke up over a year ago. If it was maybe 4 or 5 months ago, 6 months, I could understand.
And even their heyday, you're talking about the peak of the Hurt Business, where dominance, the tag in the world title, that's 3.5 years, 3.5 plus years. So realistically speaking, you're bringing the Hurt Business back. You're reorganizing it or reimagining it, and it's not anywhere to recent memory.
AEW tried it with the Undisputed Era. They brought Fish and O'Reilly with Adam Cole.
But that was again and they were a few years removed from that. From I was thinking, maybe
and they were very successful, and that was
no question. But they were removed from that, and Zilla has an interesting point. Again, this is obviously, I'm sure, internet chatter. And Bobby Lashley was not happy that Shelton Benjamin had a match against Bobby Lashley's former manager, Lilo Rush. Is that something? Anything to that?
Yeah, they were. I remember Lio Rush. He was Lashley manager when Lashley first debuted on the main roster, mid 2018, early 2019. But it's like when there's no control, the inmates run the asylum, no traction, everything is very blurry, and you don't have a clear direction to work on.
But how is Bobby Lashley mad at Shelton Benjamin for a match that he's scheduled to wrestle? What is he to
again? That's the politics backstage with AEW.
If the booker, whoever it is, the promoter wants that match, shouldn't he take that up with the person who put the match together?
Exactly. That's the problem there. It's like, so it's like AEW, like there's times where things are clicking, but other times they're not. Things are just
more often than not, it hasn't though.
Yeah, it hasn't. Like we saw a click. We thought this was going to click with Jake Perry returning with the Elite. It bombed. It really bad. We saw something clicking with Swerve. Now, the argument can be with Daniel Bryan, and should he have won that match or not? And I look at Swerve now, where it's like Daniel Bryanson's gone. He had serious neck injury again. Hopefully, he'll be okay. But now you look at it, where Swerve, what is he doing? He's battling with the Hurt Business. Okay, let's say Bobby Lashley come, and do you want to get this group over? Swerve get pushed down the card after all his hard work he's done.
You know what it says to me, though? And listen, I watched Benjamin and Guevara. It was a good match. I'm not saying it was a good match. I mean, even Jericho and Briscoe, it wasn't a bad match. But is it that it goes to the same thing? These matches aren't bad. Like they're putting on WCW 1999, 2000 quality matches. It's just that it's only going to an echo chamber. They're not promoting themselves for anybody else. So basically, they're just doing things for themselves, no one else.
Like it does the appeasement of Dave Meltzer handing up 5-star review, like he had the stack of like he's at a strip club throwing out the ones, pretty much. He gives them out like crazy. But that's what it is with AEW matches. Yeah. Anytime Dave Meltzer's out there, here the 5, here the 1, keep going. But it's just like great, you're appeasing that, but it's like we've seen the major audience over the year, the numbers don't lie. And this is not me hating on AEW. Like I watched AEW for a bit.
Fact. Listen, and I want everybody to succeed. I want every wrestling
competition. This is what made WWE better, because of that competition.
For sure.
But the fact is, AEW succeeded when WWE was doing bad. Now WWE is doing good. AEW, they can't succeed.
But I would even say that even when AEW, was doing well, they got Punk, they were $1 million plus. WWE was still WWE. Sure, maybe the product had declined. But at the end of the day, WWE was still WWE. It wasn't as if like AEW was the number one product in the world. WWE was still number one. I don't think WWE ever really feared AEW.
No.
Maybe there was, some chatter, but I think that was more from the internet wrestling fan. I don't think WWE really even thought of Impact at one time. I mean, and TNA goofily tried the Monday night for a very, brief period for a few months. Yeah. But I don't even think WWE, I think WWE is so far removed from that. I think they're their own entity. I just don't think they ever really sweated AEW.
Vince never saw. Vince was in his own little crazy mind, so he never.
Well, we know that obviously from other things there.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think he sweated AEW because he had his own product to worry about, regardless of what was going on. But I think the thing what AEW had was people were fed up with the product, and people.
Yeah, I think. Listen, Tony Khan had money. He had a TV deal. He had people that the internet wrestling community wanted to be behind.
There was a cry, like there's no doubt about it, there was a cry. We wanted something different.
People, and that's natural. People want change sometimes. People want new. I just don't think WWE really, where they are in this world and what they see themselves as, I don't think it was 20 years ago, 25 years ago, where there was a legitimate war between WCW and the WWF at the time. I just didn't see that. I think WWE is, again, their own entity. AEW can do what they want. But, I mean, NXT beats, when Dynamite and NXT were on the same times, who won the ratings?
They won them badly. They
won them badly. They won by what?
They didn't bring up the gun power like they did
by 500,000 viewers. What did AEW draw? The last time NXT
400, close to 400,000. WWE, they didn't have the big guns.
Close to 400,000.
Yeah,
it's embarrassing.
They didn't have the big guns. No Cena, no Cody.
You know what? And people put down TNA all those years, But TNA was always drawing a million, no matter what TNA went through. TNA for years drew a million, 1,200,000, 1,300,000, 4, even, I think 1,600,000 even. And they were on a channel that had less viewers, that was in less homes than what AEW's in, not for nothing.
And we saw with TNA the talent they put out there. It wasn't the same talent. They put out different talents on work, but we saw the rise of the Motor City Machine Gun, America's Most Wanted, Beer Money.
TNA created a lot of talents. AJ Styles, you talked about Beer Money, Motor City Machine Gun, Samoa Joe. I mean,
Magnus, Nick Aldis.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of great talents that they created. They gave them opportunities.
The resurrection of guys like Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley in their career.
They comebacks there. I would say Kurt Angle was in TNA longer than he was in WWE. You never hear people talk about that. Kurt Angle literally had a longer career in TNA than he had in WWE.
And he worked with a number of talent you saw, like in the matches he put on there.
Yeah, Samoa Joe, we're talking about. I mean, he had some fantastic work he did in TNA Impact. I mean, you had the Main Event Mafia. I mean, I kind of look at the end of the day, AEW hasn't created that type of talent.
One of the greatest groups not talked about, like how good that group was.
Oh, for sure, 100%, 100%. Okay, so obviously we got some of that. Anything else in the wrestling world you want to bring up here?
I do want to talk for those who are not going to watch, we talk about NXT. Listen, Halloween Havoc, it's going to be a great show. Like, I know the talk, and I hate getting to talk with the internet thing. Oh, WWE doesn't push black talent, all that kind of stuff. But you look at NXT, Trick Williams and Ethan Page have done some great work.
I saw Carmelo Hayes on my screen tonight on SmackDown.
Yeah, Tony.
The only one tonight. I feel like WWE. Maybe that was Vince's idea years ago, but
they say now it's Triple H because of the less matches, and then you hear. But then the same people complain. Then Vince put on 20 matches. It's not enough time for the wrestlers. You can't win with the internet. But to talk about Halloween Havoc, it's going to be a good show. It's like a kind of an Extreme Rules type event where you have all these different stipulations, but the matches are going to be good. Ethan Page, we've seen AEW coming to NXTW and the success he had, especially working with Joe Henry, pushing those two, the work they did. Obafemi and Tony D'Angelo, like Obafemi's come out of nowhere, and the match him and D'Angelo put on, this third match is going to be great. Julia and Stephanie Valier versus Roxanne and the returning Cora Jade, that's going to be something special. Like this
Cora
is going
Jade, I mean, hasn't been here in months. I mean, that's a
returning Nikita Lyon. You've had Andre Chase versus Ridge Holland. Like there's a lot going with NXT, and you have other talent like Javon Evans or Lola Vice. Like NXT is producing stars and attention that not get talked enough about. And what I'm seeing with NXT is, before Vince used to see a star, bring them up, okay, I didn't like you, whatever. Now it's like what NXT is doing. They're keeping these stars down longer to get more attention.
Well, don't forget though, here's the difference. NXT now is basically a standalone brand.
It isn't. It's still a developmental brand, but it's a standalone.
They're on a network now, though.
But you're going to stay longer in NXT before you could stay.
Yeah. Are you going to? Yes, but you are theoretically speaking a standalone brand. Yeah,
you get that more attention because before NXT 1 was online, and the only reason they went to Wednesday was to try to give viewers away from it. Didn't want to get AEW all that attention. We all know that, but. And it wasn't made for that. Now NXT is made for that, and you can tell how it's working out.
Yeah, well, obviously that's what it does. I mean, but I'm excited. NXT. I don't get a chance to watch NXT as much, but I'll read things up on it, and I think NXT is an exciting thing. We'll try to mix it in throughout, and we'll certainly see what happens with that. And we're here Friday nights, 10:00 Eastern time. Also. To recap, I'll be here twice tomorrow. I'm here 4:00 in the afternoon. I'm here at 10:30 p.m. And then Sunday, I'm actually interviewing a pro wrestler from Arizona. He came on my platform, went to a guy, Stud Bronson. He's basically like the Arizona version of Vader. He'll be here. I had him on last year. He was supposed to get a big match. It never really happened, but now he thinks he's going to get the match. So now I'm doing some pro wrestling. I had a pro wrestler on. I had two of them on yesterday. I had one on Tuesday. So we're trying to dally up into different things. And also we'll be talking hockey again soon on Sportswire.
Yep.
I don't want to talk about hockey this week because the Islander game on Tuesday, I caught some of it. It was like, yeah, we're not talking about that.
The New Jersey, I'll just quickly mention hockey. The New Jersey Devils, they've lost now 4 in a row. I know Justin Giovinelli and Neil Villapiano, they really were excited for the Devils, but they've hit a.
Everybody was like, "Oh, we got the coach. He wins, and we replace players. It's going to be now the Devils 2 years ago, and not so fast."
No, not there yet. And like I said, until the second week of November, the first 4 weeks is everyone guns a blazing. By the second week of November, by the end of the first week of November, full week of November, you get an idea what the season's going to look like.
I still always go by the analogy, and I think it's still a lot harder to do that by American Thanksgiving. So today is October 25th, going on 26th. American Thanksgiving this year is, I believe, the 28th. So that means that would put us right now 29 days. Let's say 28, 27, 20.
You'll know the season. You'll know what to expect.
Right. So by NHL Thanksgiving, for the U.S. side, you're talking about you've probably played 20 games, almost 18, 19, 20 games. So that's really where they say historically, that's where you look at where your team is. If your team is like 6, 8, and 4 and 0, or 5, 10, 3 and 1, let's just say, based on numbers, it could be difficult for you to make the playoffs. So that's kind of like these first few weeks, you can't really. I don't know. It's kind of.
I'll just end the hockey note right now. My Capitals are 5-1, and I'm living life.
Well, you're living on a prayer. You're definitely halfway there, and we'll have to see all of that. Obviously excited. We'll hopefully have some more people on the show next week. And speaking of people here that's going to obviously give us a Grim Reaper analogy, I know one guy is probably on pins and needles right now watching the Yankee game, but one guy who's going to give us some Grim Reaper-like news is going to be here and talk about that in a minute. So we were shorthanded tonight. Obviously, we wish TBK well and what he's going through, and we'll see him. He's on assignment. And Alan Michaels is going to be back next week with Shane Davidson, and so we'll see there. But Randy, I'm going to pass the baton to you, give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? I'm going to put you up your X here so people can check that out, and the floor is yours, my man.
Always a pleasure to be on the show. Rob, I'm sorry about the Mets. Hopefully next year you'll get them back. And just with the one thing I always say with wrestling is you can have your likes, your dislikes, but at the end of the day, everyone wants WWE, AEW, TNA, all these companies to succeed, because the better the competition, the better
gives guys more jobs. It gives guys opportunities, gives them a place to show their talents. It helps the other companies put them in a more competitive light, for sure. 100%. I mean,
exactly. And then the last thing is WrestleMania. If you want to go, you got to sell an arm and a leg and a kidney, because those prices are ridiculously overpriced right now.
Well, you know what? I think we had this conversation last week on the show. We were all, TBK was here, Chris joined it. I just don't see going to a sport, it could be WrestleMania, it could be the Stanley Cup, it could be World Series is going on right now, whatever it is. I just think you're priced out the little guy at this point. It's all about you're paying your life savings in some cases for some people. I just don't see going to these events. Like I said, I mean, I went to the 2019 second round of the playoffs. It was getting to be high, the price. I was even hearing people complain about the Islander tickets for the regular season now. So to me, sporting events, I know Rob Maraska would have died to be at these Met games, these Met playoff games last week, but I just think that realistically, sporting events are becoming streaming services, really, and you're almost to spend a whole paycheck. And imagine, we talked about this, putting a family of 3, 4, or 5, or even 3 to a game. You're talking about parking. We talked about what you're going to pay, drink, and everything else. It's,
I'm paying about $350 Canadian for my tickets, but that's what, like $290, $280 American.
I was about $280, $290 American.
Yeah, but then I got a price for hotel, travel, accommodation.
You're doing a hotel, so you're staying for the weekend?
Yeah, I'm staying with the weekend downtown with a couple of friends. Wow. But you had that price in there, and then your food, it's
spending like $700, $800. So are you gonna buy a shirt?
Most likely, I like to buy a shirt.
You're gonna buy some merch. Realistically, you're gonna go out to eat.
And then I've been at a few W shows just earlier this year. A shirt now about $50, easy.
Listen, Chris Belcher our buddy Chris Belcher. Chris Belcher messaged me. He goes to the WrestleMania. He spends it's about a couple grand. I mean, even if you listen, I say it. Even if you got the money, even if you have the money, do you really just want to burn a couple of grand? I don't know. I mean, if you're trying to impress a girl, I guess, all right. But I mean, like realistically speaking, to spend the kind of money that you spend, I mean, look, but people do it. WWE can get away with it. AEW can, and you're going to have a great time. You're going to probably be on site. You'll tag me, I'm sure, in some pictures.
Absolutely, my friend. Yep.
It'll be fun, and we'll see you next Friday. That's Randy's ex. Go out there and give him a follow, give him a like, and we'll have to see what else unfolds. And Randy, good to see you, my man. I'm going to let Rob vent on his New York Mets for the rest of the show. I'm sure Chris Bazaya may show up, but if he doesn't, I could certainly not blame him because he's on pins and needles. He's literally living on a prayer right now as a New York Yankees fan.
Perfect. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah,
Rob,
I don't know. Wait a minute. I don't
Take
even
care,
know
Randy.
Oh, Chris showed up. He's not on pins and
You
needles.
should be watching the Yankees, though. You should go out and
He
watch
is.
the Yankees.
I got it right on my computer. I'm good.
Oh,
I got
wow.
the same thing.
How do you watch it on the computer, though? How are you watching it on
Streaming. The brilliant. We talked about, Tom, the power of streaming.
Oh, Fox. You got the Fox Sports app, right? Oh,
Well, no,
wow.
I have Fios.
Oh, so you can watch
Me too.
Okay. Wow. So you two are watching the game while
Yes.
you're here. Oh, I gotcha. I
Well,
was
right
like,
now there's a commercial.
I see that, but I mean, wow. Okay, well, we'll talk about that for a little while then with you guys. Okay, Randy, good stuff to see you, my man. Be well. I'll see you next Friday and enjoy. That was Randy
care.
Dillon, the host of the Hockey Fan Chat and senior wrestling analyst on Sportswire Radio. And I still don't know why one person's here. I know why one guy should be here because his team's out and he's got events. But I still don't know how. Listen, I give you a lot of credit, Chris Bazaya. I would just be focused on watching the Yankee game right now. I wouldn't even be on a computer. I'd just be watching the game. I mean, I really still don't know why. I mean, you could take the rest of the night off if you wanted to, but
I figured I could watch the game while we're talking, and if it doesn't end well, then what am I?
I
gonna
thought
do?
it was going to end well for you, but I saw it. Well, Randy and I were talking, and it looked like a home run, but it was called fan interference. What happened there?
Yeah.
Fan interference, just like you said. The guy caught it. You could see he leaned over, so it was pretty obvious.
Well,
Yeah,
what are you gonna do?
that was the right call. That was right.
All right. Well, I guess we'll talk about the game. I'll go into Valenzuela's death. I'll give the Mets' death. Rob and Ross going to do a eulogy on that. But been a classic so far. I took a nap for 20 minutes, and it was scoreless into the fifth inning. And the Dodgers took the lead. The Yankees came back, and I just don't know for the love of me what gets into Giancarlo Stanton in the postseason. This is a guy I heard you guys talk about. I listened to your entire podcast twice this week, and Giancarlo Stanton been okay as a Yankee. I guess he's been okay. He can't stay quite healthy, but in the postseason, he turns into almost like a superhero. I mean, what is it with Giancarlo Stanton? 17 now postseason home runs in less than 50 games. What is it with him in being in October baseball?
I you know what? I think he just knows the situation. He realizes this is what you're playing for. So I don't think he makes he knows that it's this is what you play for. But I don't think he makes the moment not as big as it should. You know what I mean? The moment is not bigger than what it is. It's still a game to him. Yeah, it's the biggest game of the year. But I don't think he has that in his head. He still says, hey, I got to get, my job done, no matter if it's game one, of the regular season or game one of the World Series. I think he has that mindset.
But he's a different player in the postseason. He's a completely different player, although he just struck out just now. But
it's just the opposite with Judge, though, sadly.
Which I don't understand. I don't understand that either.
I think he just presses too much. I mean, now he's 5 for or 6 for 37 or something
a couple
now.
home runs though, but still
16 Ks overall in his postseason. This year it's nuts.
So what would you recommend that Judge could do from what you guys are watching? You guys are the experts. I know nothing about baseball. What do you?
I would just tell him, if I'm his teammate, I'd be like, just relax, man. Don't worry about it. The game's not only you. We got the whole team here to back you up. But we need you. But yeah, the whole team is behind you. But just relax. Just be you. Don't try to be more than who you could be.
Yankees got a single here in the top of the 10th with one out here. So the Yankees have a man on base. So you obviously like that.
Maybe Jazz will be trying to steal second, get into scoring position.
And what's your impressions, guys, so far on this game so far? What's your impressions here?
I loved it, man. Great pitching early, right?
But but is it if the Yankees win, how big of a victory would this be? Or is it the Yankees could lose, it doesn't matter? Wow, how big of a game this is?
I think the Yankees, just like like when you guys were playing against the Dodgers too. If you could get one of these first two games, as the road team, you want that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So if they don't get tonight, if they get tomorrow, I'll be fine tomorrow's game. But get tonight's game, that'd be great.
I would think winning game one, unlike the Mets really weren't in game one. To win this game, you would be in control of this series, theoretically. To be the road team and to win would be a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they put it up earlier. It was, I think, the team that wins game one of the World Series goes on to win 63%.
Yeah.
Right? Or something like that.
Yep. So I think 63%.
And there you go. You called it. We got your stolen base. Stolen base.
That was in scoring position, so.
Runner on second, one out. So you're getting play-by-play coverage here on Sportswire Radio. But yeah, Yankees. Well, listen, we're here. I actually thought the game was going to end by the time you came on the air because I was looking at it. It was 2-1. It should have. And the Dodgers tied in the eighth inning. And I'm like, oh, boy, these guys are not going to come on here. And because we're shorthanded tonight. Alan Michaels was going to be here, but decided he was going to wait another week because he wants to talk football. But I got the World Series going on, and I really can't talk the NFL because the Yankees are in the World Series for the first time in 15 years. Who would have guessed the Yankees? It hasn't been 15 years until they've been in a World Series, and here we are. And
a lifetime.
It's been a classic. I can't believe it. The Yankees, 15 years, and they haven't been in a World Series, but they're playing a classic right now tonight. It's a classic game.
And you know what?
Yankees Dodgers, that was a thing when Rob Maraska was in his heyday in the 50s in the World Series. But, now that was his heyday in the 50s. But, this is the first time these two teams have met in the postseason since, 81?
Yes, the last time they was 81.
81. Wow. For, again, Yankees, Dodgers, again, and Rob
I even remember that one.
And Bobby Taps.
Yeah, I remember it.
I know Rob does too, but
I'm sure Rob does. He definitely remembers it. That was his heyday back in the day. That was his heyday in, the 80s. But,
yeah, those were bad days for the Met fan. 1979, 1980, 1981. Those are really bad.
Well, the Yankees and Dodgers played to each other, 78, right? 81?
77.
Yeah.
Right?
77, 78, and 76 we played the Reds.
So the Yankees and Dodgers played three times in 5 years in the World Series. Then they played a bunch of times in the 50s. So you're talking about
40s and 50s, yeah.
40s and 50s played a bunch of times. This is the first time since 81. Two legacy franchises. Dodgers back in the World Series, right, for the first time since 2020, right?
2020. The
2020 COVID year.
The COVID year they won.
The COVID year, and the Yankees back in the
Series.
Nah, does anybody count that as like a real World Series win?
The Dodgers count it. They won it.
Yeah,
they count it. The Dodgers count it. They won it.
That.
And the Lakers counted for their title too, right?
Exactly. Listen, the Tampa Bay Lightning, unfortunately, they counted because they beat us in the conference finals. They counted. So yeah, if you won,
those were all jokes, though, right? They were playing in the whatever,
The bubble, that was the bubbles.
The bubbles, yeah. I don't know.
Bubbles. The NHL and the NBA had the bubbles. The NBA was in, I think, was it Florida? I think, and the NHL.
I think Orlando. Was it Orlando?
I think it was Orlando, and then the NHL. We were in, I think, Edmonton, right? It was Edmonton and Toronto, I think, or some combination of some sorts like that. It was just goofy, just a goofy time. And baseball was in Texas,
right? Well, when you look back at that time with the fake fans in the crowd, you know, the
you know what WWE did we had the Thunderdome, and WWE had
like 20 people there, right?
No. This was what WWE did. WWE did it for a year and a half. They basically did. You were in an empty arena, but they put like fans in a stream.
Oh, right, the video screens, right?
They called it the Thunderdome. So
I remember.
They stayed in Tampa for all that time, and they would have these fans show up, and what they would do is they'd have them go in and out. So they would just replace and, almost like hockey line changes. That's what we did there. But the Dodgers count it. The Yankees have a runner on third, one out. Did he check his swing?
Yeah.
He checked his swing. He checked his swing. That's Anthony Volpe, right? Anthony Volpe up at plate. So interesting here. We doing play-by-play on sports. So might as well, because this is. I can't sit here and ask Rob about Fernando Valenzuela in a 2-2 game in the 10th innings. I mean, sorry. I mean, I know you're talking about that during the telecast. This is game 1 of the World Series, and it's the Yankees and Dodgers involved. Maybe it's what MLB won anyway, but here we go, and the Yankees got the lead. Chris Pizzaia is a lucky man. Chris Pizzaia, you're a lucky man. Are you going to go to the parade if the Yankees win the World Series?
I don't know. Maybe I've been to 2 of them, so I don't know if I'll go to another one.
Rob was probably there in 69, 86. He was definitely there, right?
I was 86. Yes, 86.
But that's
probably on one of the floats.
Probably.
Yeah, 69. I was 6.
69. He was on one of the floats.
But,
I would.
But what I remember in
86.
What I remember in 60. What I remember in 69, once the Mets made the final out, everybody started honking their horns outside. It was like crazy.
Wow.
I mean, that was a big deal. That was a big deal. But
yeah,
86.
Listen on the radio a lot. That's why.
Wow.
Right.
Well, right now it's 3-2 Yankees, 2 outs in the 10th. Yankees took the lead back, and we'll have to see. Obviously, it's a big game for the Yankees. Yankees back in the World Series for the first time since 2009 against the Philadelphia Phillies. The Yankees went the entire last decade without being in a World Series. I mean, it's unusual for the Yankees. The first time I think they had done that since what? The 10s? Right? The 10s? Right? The first...
Yeah. Well, before 09, the last championship was in 2000.
But the Yankees, the last decade hadn't been in a World Series. The first time that had happened in a decade, right? Since the 10s, the 1910s.
Right, yeah, right.
1910s, right?
Just before Ruth got
there. Yeah,
there.
exactly. Before Ruth. So that was why I mentioned
that. Was there too.
I'm sure Rob and Bobby Tats was there. I'm sure Rob and Bobby Tats was going, Zilla wants to say
Bruce guy. We should let him just hit. Forget about pitching.
Well, Zilla wants to say hello to both of you. Zilla, I know, doesn't know a lot about baseball, but she's here because she always hears with. Yeah, Zilla is Zilla's in the Hall of Fame now. By the way, she actually joined you guys into the Hall of Fame last year.
Is she unmasked in the Hall of Fame, or is she masked in the Hall of Fame?
Well, she's on Instagram. She's been unmasked on Instagram Lives, but on Sportzwire, I don't have her on the website because I don't have a photo for her. I don't have room for her. Unfortunately, I've had to remove some different people off the website because they've got some checkered past that we've unfortunately found out over the past few days. So we had to take some names off. But yeah, Zilla's in our Hall of Fame here, and Austin Wells is up at bat here for the Yankees. Great. So I'll see if the Yankees can add an insurance run here. Being up 2 would be really big for the Yankees.
It's right down. Ugh.
Well, I didn't see it yet, so I'm a little behind on the lag. So, that's a strike. Yeah, that's a strike 3.
Yeah, I would say so.
Rob Moroska would have swung at that one even.
I think so.
Well, we'll see what the Yankees can do here coming up.
Jake Cousins coming in for the save.
Well, you got 7, 8, 9, but Tommy Edman's up. Tommy Edman, who's a Met killer. Rob Moroska's got him in his nightmare. Rob Moroska goes 40 years from now in his grave.
Him and Kiki, I can't. We can't. Like those are the 2 guys.
I still can't figure out what happened with Edman. Oh my!
You were talking about that on the podcast, New York MLB.
Edman, and they just traded for him this year too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
Crazy.
But that's how it goes in sports. That's how it happens. People, they win, and they win with guys like that. We see it all the time, all too often.
Every sport
has a football.
In the postseason. I mean, let's talk about how about Boom, right? If you want to talk about someone who had you didn't expect to have a big hit in.
Hey, how about in football, right? With the Giants, what's his name? Who caught the ball on his helmet?
David Tyree.
Oh yeah,
he did nothing after that. Nothing.
That's how it goes.
I'll go a little further back, not too far back. Not what's his name? Was it Timmy Davis? Was that his name from the Washington Redskins when they beat Denver? He ran for like 200 yards. Was it Timmy Davis? I could be wrong. The year they played Denver, look at that one.
Yeah.
Doug Williams won MVP, but that guy ran like 200 yards. Didn't do anything before that. Didn't do anything after that.
Anything after, but he did what he had to do.
That's how it goes, though. Listen,
he came up big in a big game, right?
That's just you see it all too often in sports. Guys in the big moment, they They win the big one. Yeah, I got it here right in front. So I'll tell you right now, Super Bowl, what do you say, 42-10, Redskins, Broncos. Can we say the Redskins still? Are we allowed to say that?
Well, you might get thrown off the air.
I've had a lot of problems the last week. I should be thrown off the air, but that's
all right. So you should be all right then.
Timmy Smith.
Hey, listen, when they won, they were the Redskins. When they won, they were the Redskins.
Timmy Smith, 22 carries, 204 yards. Yep. He was born in Hobbs, New Mexico. And yeah, he played basically 2 years in the NFL. He had 602 career yards in the NFL. That's it.
That's crazy, right?
He played the next year. He had 155 carries for 470 yards. And then he got cut the next year. And then failed the physical, according to Wikipedia. And then got released. And then tried again in 1990. Got cut again. And then got released in the CFL. Yeah. 600 career rushing yards. And had 200. He had the most rushing yards in the Super Bowl. 204. 204. But Yankees and Dodgers have resumed, and let's see what happens here. Jake Cousins on the mound for the Yankees. We'll have to see if Ohtani gets one more at bat. Ohtani obviously gets the double in the 8th, and that's where Chris was like, Rob Maraska was when the Mets were in the playoffs and such. Just going through all those emotions there. Going through.
We got to do. You know what we got to do? That place. What would you say? Duffy's, right? You still hang out there, right? Why don't we do
I turned down hanging out there today, but yeah, go ahead. I'm listening.
All right. Do you know the owner?
I know him, but
not that well. Okay.
I know him, but I know him, sort of. Yeah,
I got you.
What do you want to do?
I was thinking maybe we could do we could do a watch party there. Do a live sports radio.
The problem is they don't have the Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is not very good there.
Oh, it's not good there? Oh,
no.
All right.
Wi-Fi.
Any other place you think we could, Rob? Any places out in Staten Island? I think we could do a bar,
But they won't. I gotta know. I gotta go and I gotta know the people. See, I don't really want to do a live stream like that. I gotta know.
Any places other than
me, to that. I mean Joe and Pat's, but Joe and Pat's is not a live stream place. It's you sit and have a slice of pizza. I mean, there's
it's a pizzeria.
I got you.
Yeah, I mean Duffy's sort of would make sense, but the problem I have with Duffy's is that they don't have the Wi-Fi is not good there. Theoretically, yes, I kind of know the owner there. I kind of know the people who work there. I know the bartenders, but the Wi-Fi is not very good there, and they wouldn't they wouldn't let me do a lot. They wouldn't clear their 40 regulars for me to do a live stream with Now, look. If it was backyard wrestling, I could probably convince them because I'll have 40 people on the live stream. Yeah, they probably would go for the business, but unfortunately, I don't feel like they wouldn't do. They really haven't done one of those. I mean, I have to know somebody.
I got you.
There are places about that. No, it's a cool. People have asked me, why don't you do a live stream somewhere? I'm like,
yeah,
I gotta know the people.
You're right. You gotta right. Yeah, no, it's true. You can't just walk into a place and hey.
I want to do a podcast. And I go, who the hell are you? I'm like, well, I'm a paid YouTube streamer now. I got 1,300 subscribers.
There you go.
They're gonna say, okay, but not really. I ain't getting rich off it, but I mean, I get something. But Yankees here 1 out, 3-1 count though. 3-1 count. We'll have to see what happens here next. Will Ohtani get at bat? We'll have to figure that out. We don't want to see that, but I'm behind the pitch.
I'm surprised you're behind because I'm streaming. Usually streaming is behind.
Well, I'm watching it without paying for it.
I got all right. Well, let's keep that on the.
Especially after the last few weeks on Sportswire, I don't want to say how I can watch it. Let's just put it down.
Yeah, we got to keep that on the down low.
I want to definitely keep it on the DL. But, yeah, that's for sure. But Tommy Edman is up, the secret mystery man himself.
Here we go.
Edman. Yankee bullpen's getting up. This is where it's tense as a sports fan. I mean,
I'm worried about him and Kiki more than anybody else.
I mean, what are you like in these situations? You must be having stomach knots right now, right?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And you know what? I miss it, but when you're in it, you're like, oh my God, this is too stressful. So I couldn't handle a Yankee Mets series. That's why I was
Chris did not want a Subway series.
but Yankees Dodgers you want though.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
But Yankees Dodgers, I think, is still just as stressful because it's the coast. It's the best players in baseball.
But if we lose, it's not the end of the world. If we lose to the Mets, we'll never hear the end of it.
Do you think it'll be tough for the Yankees to still lose to the Dodgers? Yankees haven't been in the World Series in 15 years.
Yeah, it'll still be bad. It's not gonna. It's not gonna be
Like
great.
the Mets fan to lose would just Mets fans were jumping out and they act like they won. Mets fans lost to the Dodgers and they were like, we had a great season. Yeah, it was great. It was great. It was great. You know, they got to the World Series and Mets fans no expectations almost. I don't know. I'm just trying to be devil's advocate in a way, but you know, I don't know. We'll
look,
see here.
we know what we thought in April and May. So, you know, you didn't even want to talk about the Mets.
As long as you're
April,
building
May.
from this year, you know what I mean? As long as next year is.
Well, you guys said you're going to talk about it probably. I think you're going to, from what I gathered on the podcast, you're going to wait till the World Series is decided to do a next podcast, right? You know, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
So so after the World Series is decided, I'm sure you'll recap the season with the Yankees and Dodgers World Series, and you're going to probably talk about what these teams do after that, really. So
Yeah. And then we start getting into, you know, who's available at free agency and kind of start saying, you know.
Well, the Yankees have a big one that's going to be on the market.
Yeah.
The Mets have a couple of them. I think the Mets have 2, even 3 names that'll be on the market. One probably, I think, it pretty much decided his future, but the other 2, one's going to have an opt-out. The other one is a free agent. The Mets have their free agents, but Yankees here 0-2, count 1 out.
Is JD Martinez a free agent or is he?
Yes.
He's a free agent.
So he's gone.
And he said he doesn't want to retire. He says he wants to play.
Oh.
So
yeah, I'll pass on him.
Won't be on the
I don't know
Mets.
where he's going to play.
He'll go to everybody else, but let's see what we got here right now. It's 1-2 count, 1 out. Let's see where we are. Yankees, Dodgers. And that's going to hurt.
Yeah.
No, it's first and third, 1 out.
Now it's Ohtani. God.
And now it's Ohtani.
Well, first and second 1 out. And Ohtani with runners and score. Why are you here? I don't know why you're here.
I'm watching, but don't worry.
Maybe it should be better. Maybe it would be better to be on this stream because I could imagine as a fan to sit through this, you know, and like be alone would be really difficult. It would be really difficult to. No, I'm saying I got to be honest. I mean, you know, I'm looking at it here. Ohtani up. Ohtani runners and scoring position is totally different, and you got to break because runner slips here on second base. That was really the only saving grace, but maybe the Yankees will get a double play here. We'll have to see. Who knows? Hopefully, but how do you put around Ohtani? So what do you do here for Ohtani to get him out?
Well,
they're bringing in Cortez.
No,
and Ohtani, don't count on him hitting into a double play.
I'm just throwing out this. So how do you pitch around Ohtani? What do you do?
I don't know. You can't really pitch around him.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Walk him and then have the bases loaded for Mookie Betts? You know,
maybe take your chances, be aggressive on the hitter. I don't know. You have to find out.
We'll have to.
They're definitely going to go after him. I mean, they brought a lefty in to pitch to him. So
yeah. Hey, listen, he strikes out.
All right.
So
let's look. They're probably going to show it before I find it, but I'm looking for Nestor Cortez's numbers against
Nasty Nestor.
Can't be that many. Maybe 1 or 2 at bats.
They pitched with the Angels, right? He pitched against the Angels. Yeah, he's got. I mean, I would assume 10 at bats, maybe 12 at bats against.
The Angels.
That's right. That's right.
Pitched against the Angels, maybe 12 at bats, 13 at bats. I would think something like that. I don't know. Could be wrong. What do I know? I know nothing about this stuff. I mean, 12 at bats.
He's 2 for 6 against Cortez.
Well, that's not helpful. Then why are we bringing him in then? It's got to be a matchup thing, I guess. It's going to be a matchup thing. I don't know.
2 for 6.
Lefty.
2 for 6, 330. But it's a small sample. Don't get worked up.
It's one time in 6 at bats.
Small sample size. Small sample size. And what's his against Betts? What has he faced Mookie Betts before? What's the
let's see.
Because I'm assuming you're going to pitch to both. You're not going to take him out for one batter. I'm assuming you're going to pitch Mookie Betts to both batters.
He's 0 for 3 against Mookie Betts.
All right, so he's not. So that's advantage Cortez because the hitter's not familiar with him, and on top of that, he's got a small sample size. So that's promising. That's very promising to say the least. So that's a good thing. Well, hopefully, for the Yankee fans' sakes, I want to say hello to my friend Mr. Andre and Emily. How you doing? We're watching the World Series. Basically, that's what we're doing right now. The World Series is on Sportzwire, and Chris Pizzaia is a Yankee fan, and he's right now going through the motions. So that's pretty much what I'm doing right now.
That's the best I could do.
that's going through the motions right now. That's pretty much what I'm doing here at this point. But he's obviously watching with bated breath because the Yankees and the Mets are out, Yankees are in, but nasty Nestor Cortez is in, and he's about to face the man Shohei Ohtani. That's what he's about to face.
They must be going nuts at that bar in Japan that they were showing before.
Well,
right now.
Yes, they had a lot of what's the drink there? Is it Sakura? Sake.
It's sake.
Yeah, Andre, the Mets and the Braves are at home, so it's obviously we're both watching for the same reasons. But I hope all is well with you, my man. I definitely got to get you back on the sports, but I got to get some wrestling news with Future Atlanta. I don't know what the story is with Future Atlanta, but Shohei Ohtani's up right now. I'm looking at him right now, and he goes right after him, first pitch, and he made it. Did he make that catch? Did he make that catch? Wow!
He made that catch,
now I'm behind.
He made that catch.
Literally,
he made the catch.
I can't believe he made that catch.
He said that. Wow. Well, it would have been a foul.
Got it. Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
And first pitch, Ohtani goes right after him. First pitch goes right after him. Ballsy. Ohtani swings.
That's what Cortez is, though. He gets into a lot of problems that way too. But
that was nasty.
Look, he's making a face there, Ohtani.
Woof, man.
Yeah, well, you know what? First, I would have thought.
Nobody tagged up too. That was big.
And he tagged up.
No, I'm saying nobody tagged up.
No, nobody.
I didn't see a tag up. I was like,
no, wow, nobody tagged up.
Wow. Well, you know what? That's a game changer. That's a game changer there to see what that goes. Wow.
Yeah, Mookie Betts got to get a hit now or a walk.
Well, we're gonna find out. We're gonna see how nasty Nestor pitches to him. That's just really wild there. I mean, just a really gutsy call by Boone there to make that decision there like that. And now we see Freddie Freeman's up right now. So Freddie Freeman's up.
Freddie Freeman. That's right. I forgot. Freddie Freeman was batting after him. I was thinking of the
intentional walk. No, he intentionally walked him.
Yeah, he intentionally walked Betts, so the bases are loaded.
Why do you intentionally walk him? Why?
Oh, okay. See, I didn't see that till just now. I'm like,
why intentionally walk? What if Freeman hits? Game's over. I'm not following.
I don't know. Maybe they don't want to get beat by Betts. I don't know.
Well, the Yankees lost. So sorry, gentlemen. Yankees lost.
I didn't see. My
telling me? Yankees lost.
Yankees lost.
Uh-oh. That's
Yankees
bad. Holy shit.
Grand slam, Freddie Freeman.
Oh my.
Grand slam.
That's going to set the tone for this series.
That's pretty much one of the. I'm still trying to ask, gentlemen, why would you intentionally walk Mookie Betts? You got Ohtani out. I'm still help me understand that.
I can't. I don't know.
Here's the reason why I don't like. The reason why I don't know. I mean, if you want to start second guess, I'll second guess here. Maybe bring
that was an easy second guess. I'm still understanding. You just got Ohtani out, and then you intentionally walk Betts. Makes no sense.
I know, and I don't know.
Yeah,
and then you're using a guy who hasn't pitched in about a month.
That's right. I mean? They just put him on the roster.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's a head scratcher.
It makes no sense. You're right. They pitched to Ohtani. Why not pitch to Betts? Especially Betts has never had a hit against him, right? Is that what you said with the stats?
0 for 3.
Yeah, 0 for 3. I think you know what it is too. Probably because it was righty-lefty matchup. I think that's the way they looked at it.
I still wouldn't have did that. I just think that was just you just got Ohtani out.
Wasted a great performance from Cole.
Yep. My question is, Tom, how did you get ahead of us when we were ahead of you before?
Yeah, that was weird.
The only reason I know is my brother was yelling that the Yankees lost.
but
I didn't have to watch it. I heard the grand slam. I heard it. I was just how I knew. It was like, all right, the game's over. When I heard the yelling, that's like, this game's over. It's over. I think that's just, it's not as a game, it's not a series ender, but
it's
to
only
me,
game one.
Yeah, but you know what? That game, you basically handed the Dodgers the game. You handed it to them. You handed him the game.
And you can't do that.
You handed him the game. Just on you intentionally walked Mookie Betts to get to Freddie Freeman. Face him. You just got Ohtani out. Guy hadn't pitched in a month. I don't know.
I guess Freeman could his ankle's feeling better after the rest.
He felt great there. He didn't have to do anything. He just crushed the ball first pitch, just threw it right down the plate. Right down the plate. Rob Maraska could have hit that one even.
I probably could have back in the day.
Right.
But that's just
I did play.
First walk-off grand slam in World Series history.
Of course.
First one. First for everything.
Well, hey, Chris, it's only game one, so,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's a loss that really, it's a tough one.
Yeah,
I got to be honest. You could say that, but you know what?
It is.
That's a Yankees should have won that game.
Right.
The Yankees. Listen, that game. Let's not forget that fan interference thing too.
Yeah, but Yankees came back and had the lead. They got the lead in the 10th.
I think that was obvious, though. I think that was a good.
Yeah,
call.
that was obvious. Oh well, that's about.
Gotta come back tomorrow, man. Rodon's got to have a.
I think it's must win tomorrow.
Oh,
I think it's must win.
Yeah, they don't want to go back to Yankee Stadium.
That game was the game to steal. And Zilla said sorry about the Mets. Zilla, you might want to say sorry about the Yankees.
Thanks, Zilla.
Because Chris Bazzia, is I don't know how he's holding it in. My brother walked off and went to bed just now. I mean, this is
I definitely one of those. Go to bed right now.
Oh, you want to go to bed? You can go to bed.
No, I said I couldn't. I couldn't go to bed.
Really?
Chris is a professional.
I don't know. I went to the Islander playoff games. I got to be honest. When the Islanders lost some of those games in overtime on the road, I went. That was with you didn't sleep. I would think it's tough to be in a spot like this. I don't know. I think it's tough. Yes.
Tom, I was at Shea Stadium in 2006 when Beltran didn't swing. I was at Shea Stadium.
But you were there like 1967 with 20 people there.
Listen,
I got that.
When Piazza looked like that ball was going out of Shea Stadium and the wind held it in. I was there for that one. I was at a lot of exciting ones, but I was on a couple of heartbreakers too. So
I don't know. Game one of the World Series, that's going to be, they're going to play this one, I think, for a long time. The way Freeman crushed that ball, first walk-off in World Series history, it's a tough one. The tough one. I mean, look, hopefully they win tomorrow and go 1-1, but
that's what it comes down to. That's the mindset right now for that team. Like, all right, you know what? Yeah, it sucks. We should have won this game, but we have to come back and win game two. You got to. The best teams put these games behind them. The best teams put these games behind them and say, all right, okay, it's only one loss. That's it.
I just think it goes back to me. I don't know why you intentionally walked Mookie Betts. I'm sorry. I don't know why you intentionally walked.
I think it was just a matchup, like Chris said. I think it was just a matchup.
Yeah, the righty-lefty
matchup. Would you guys have both intentionally walked a batter to get to the bases low? It doesn't make sense to me.
Listen, I was having a text argument with my brother about the two or three innings before that. The inning that they tied it.
Yep, in the eighth, right?
Right. He was saying, they should walk Betts to get to Freeman. I'm like, you don't want to walk Betts because now you're making Betts the go-ahead run, and you're bringing up Freeman, who he's a really good hitter. It's not like you're walking Mookie Betts, to get to a worse hitter. I mean, Freddie Freeman's a career 300 hitter. The guy's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm like, no, I'm not. I said, I'm not.
Amelie's a Braves fan. He had Freddie Freeman for all those years. He had him for a decade.
They know how great that guy is. I'm not walking. I'll take my chances with Betts. Either way, you're taking your chance with a guy who's probably going to be a Hall of Famer when they retire. So what are you going to do?
Zilla's funny. Zilla said she doesn't know if she wants to know baseball now. Well, don't worry, Zilla. There'll be plenty of backyard wrestling tomorrow. We have Darkrons here at 4:00 Eastern time, and Brandon Costelli. You're gonna love Brandon Costelli. Brandon Costelli's here at 10:30, and Silas Walker's Tuesday. Joseph Bostrom's joined us. Unreal, unbelievable, so much words. I want to use just. What's the just?
I guess he doesn't have the words.
He speaks.
Oh. Yeah, because I just don't agree with intentionally walking someone. With you had only 2 runners on. You basically you handed the game away. I don't understand it.
I don't know. He goes after Ohtani and then he walks Betts, but it has to be the matchup. I mean, what else?
Words he can't use. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Joseph.
That's understandable.
I don't know. To me, what do the Yankees then have to do to bounce back tomorrow? What do they have to do to win Game 2?
They got to win.
Basically get great pitching from Rodon. Get a good start from him. And you know what? How about Judge finally stepping up, man, and driving in some runs? I'm tired of seeing this guy go, 0 for 4 or 1 for 5 with a base hit.
3 strikeouts.
Now he's 6'4", 38, 39, something like that. I mean, that's ridiculous.
No.
Well, we've been talking about it on our show, Chris.
You know what? Has his September carried into this post? He did not have a good September, by the way.
No, he came back a little bit at the end, to get the home runs up a little bit. But yeah, you're right.
September wasn't very good.
No.
He had the unreal June, July, and August. They were historic. But September, I don't know if that carries into anything, but his September was poor, and he hasn't been able to quite get it together since.
I just think he's feeling the pressure, and he's not handling it well. Let's be honest.
He's pressing.
Right.
That's what it is. You're absolutely right.
Some guys just take a deep breath and say, all right, it's just a game. It's the biggest game of the year, but at the end of the day, it's the same game. I've been playing all season. I've been dominating all season. Why can't I do it now?
The Yankees, I think they have to win tomorrow. I mean, I know the series isn't over, but they have to win tomorrow.
Agreed.
I know they'll be alive because the Yankees will have home games at the stadium. The stadium will be loud. But I look, again, not saying it's over, but
right. You don't want
to. That's a one I feel like this could go into a sweep because it's just that it's a swing game, and it's a swing game within a swing game because Yankees win that game, you're feeling good. Dodgers, you feel will probably get tomorrow 1-1. You're comfortable. Now, though, it's almost like I got to win now. I don't want to go down to 0-2 at home.
Yep. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It'll be like 2001 with Arizona, right? They lost the first 2 games in Arizona, got crushed, came back in New York, won 3 amazing games back to back to back.
3 gutty games, yep.
Right? And then they lose game 6. They get blown out in game 6.
And then game 7, yep.
They had that game, right? Soriano hits the home run off of Randy Johnson to give him the lead going into the 8th inning. And Rivera, I think, retires the 8th inning, 1, 2, 3. And then, you know what happened in the 9th inning. So they don't want to get into that kind of a situation.
So how long do you guys, from Joey's standpoint, think that Stanton can continue this run he's been on?
I don't know. Hey, I hope for another 5-6 games. I'll say it that way. Because he's the only one that's really been consistently doing it for this team. And if he doesn't, think about it. If he didn't do it tonight, we would have lost in 9 innings. It wouldn't have been. So
if Judge doesn't get it together and Stanton can't continue to carry the load,
we're done. Then the Dodgers win. I'll say that right now. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Those guys have to get it done.
Chris, listen, we talked about this. It's Judge. He's just got to take a deep breath. He's got to get all this stuff out of his head. He's got to stop putting the pressure on himself, and he's just got to hit like he could hit, and that's it. But if that doesn't happen, the Yankees are in big trouble, and we know that. So that's what I don't know. Maybe Stanton's got to talk to him. Somebody's got to talk to him. I don't know. He's the captain.
You know what?
if you're in that locker room, what are you guys saying? You guys are the baseball analysts. You guys are the experts. I mean, what are you guys doing?
We've all played at some level, right?
Mhm.
We've all played at some level, right?
Well, I mean, I've been in the political world in close elections, so I mean,
Okay.
I can tell you
know.
I can tell you in being in one election, it was Stephen Saperstein, the Democratic primary, was 202 votes, and we went to mail-in ballots for weeks. So I mean, I can tell you another election, it was 790 votes. So another one was 13 votes. So I can tell you
Wow.
another one last year was like 21 votes. So I mean, I can tell you, it's sort of the same premise. You have to you can't dwell on it. You have to hope. You just have to shake it off, and
I mean, that's a little different because there you're counting on other people, right? You're counting on votes and stuff like that. But when you're actually the person in the box performing, right? It's just like,
well, you do think about though. What I could say is you do think about, could I have done more? Could I have knocked on more doors? Could I have called more people?
That's obvious with Judge, right?
And I think with Judge, but it's the same premise. Are you thinking about, I'm 6 for 37?
Oh, he's thinking about that right now.
That's what I'm saying. Joey, though, thinks every game's going to be epic like this. Joey doesn't feel what I'm saying. He thinks every game's going to be a classic.
It could be. Absolutely. I agree.
I don't know. I look at it like this could be a blowout tomorrow. I just kind of because my gut didn't like to lose the way I lost tonight.
Rodon he's hit or miss. No pun intended, but he's literally hit or miss.
You guys spoke about him on the podcast. You guys talked about him on the podcast.
Yeah, I've seen him. We've seen him pitch really good in the playoffs, and we've seen him get shelled in the playoffs. So, I think it comes down to, listen, he's thinking about the numbers right now in his head, over and over. I'm pressing. I'm doing this, whatever. So, I think it comes down to, just like when all of us have been in a slump playing Little League baseball or whatever sport you played, it's this, without a doubt, we've all gone through a couple of games that are obviously nothing like this, but we've all gone through a couple of games where we're not hitting, and then you get that one hit, and it just kind of frees you a little bit mentally, and it makes you breathe a little bit, like, oh, okay, I could do this, right? And that's what I thought. Listen, I told on the podcast, I even told it to Rob. I thought Game 4 against Kansas City in the division series, he looked much better. He looked relaxed. He got a big hit. He just looked more relaxed. He was taking pitches. He wasn't swinging and everything.
But if you look at these series, we're here with Chris Pizaya and Rob Maraska. They are the host of the New York MLB Talk, which you can catch on Spotify, other places. You can also catch it throughout the week via the Listen Live button on sportswireradio.org. I'm your voice, figuratively and literally, where all sports matters and all wrestling matters here, the Reverend Tom Bryce. But, I mean, you can look at it and say, though, Yankees beat Kansas City, but they struggled offensively. They beat Cleveland. I mean, they struggled. They were okay at times offensively, but it was mix and match. And tonight, they struggled a bit as well. So this Yankees team won, but wasn't like they were overtly impressive in the two series. And tonight, lost a gun puncher. First game ever decided with the walk-off grand slam.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a gut punch, because that's a game that they had, and they had their best relief pitcher on the mound to get 5 more outs. And they couldn't close it out.
Couldn't do it. Thank you, Joey, for tuning in. We'll see you soon, Joey. See you back on. Good deal, Joey. That was Joseph Bostrom. But, I mean, look, we'll see. I mean, we see Billie Jean King's, I think, on the screen now. I see. But obviously, Dodgers are all pumped up for good reasons. But you'll also have first pitch 8:08 tomorrow also, right? First pitch 8:08. And we have, is it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? 3, 4, and 5, right?
Yep.
Was it Monday, Tuesday,
Wednesday?
Wednesday?
They're off Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The weather's supposed to be perfect.
Yeah, I saw it. But 80 on Tuesday and Wednesday again. It's Indian summer.
Crazy.
It's supposed to
be
rain.
No rain for a month. When was it last time, right? We've seen rain.
I ain't complaining, man. As a newspaper carrier outside, I hope it never rains. Actually, it rained for like 5 minutes at like 5 o'clock in the morning yesterday. Like, literally, it was hot, And then all of a sudden, for like 5 minutes, rain, and then it was like, boy, I guess it's not 80 degrees anymore. It was like went from like I was sweating to like, oh, I'm cold now. So
Yeah.
it hasn't rained much at all. But look, I'm sure it'll even out. So it'll be cold here in New York Saturday and Sunday, but Tuesday and Wednesday will be beautiful. Supposed to be upper 70s. I think Monday's near 65, which is fine. Probably chilly first pitch, but Tuesday and Wednesday are in the 70s. But that's just kind of been October. October's been a great month. So hopefully the Yankees can get it together and win tomorrow and make it a fun series. But I got to ask, because Rob Moroska is the Grim Reaper, and I only have a little more time here because I don't want to dwell on, for Chris's sake, the Yankees losing tonight. I can't spend the next hour talking about this Yankee loss because even I'm going to get a little agitated on it. But speaking of World Series, Fernando Valenzuela unfortunately passes away at the age of 63, if I'm not mistaken, right? 63.
Yes.
And World Series heroes, and guy 1981. Obviously, came out of thin air, right? Rookie of the Year, World Series MVP, right? Was he a World Series MVP and Rookie of the Year and
Rookie of the Year, Cy Young Award winner also that year. That was the strike shortened year too.
And he passes away, and it was Fernando Mania, right? And pitched a no-hitter also in his career, and all-time Dodger great, passes away. What are your memories of him?
Well, of course, I saw him pitch. You remember his pitching? He always looked up to the sky. He was, that first year he was just amazing. But he played 17 seasons, 6-time All-Star, won the Cy Young Award, like we said, Rookie of the Year. He pitched a no-hitter too.
Yep, I just said that.
Yeah, he did it. He did it all. In fact, in 1986, he led the National League with wins, with 21 wins, and he only
20 complete games.
Yeah, I know. And he finished second to Mike Scott. And remember, 1986, that was, look at the pictures then. Gooden, Mike Scott, him, it was just amazing.
Did he get hurt or something? Because it looked like right after 87.
Yeah, he hurt his shoulder. He pitched
20-game winner, right? He won 20 games before in his career, right? Once.
Yeah. Yes.
20 wins.
You can see his career went down right after 87.
Yeah, his career went down. He pitched not only for the Dodgers but for the Angels, Orioles, Phillies, Padres, and Cardinals.
So he became a journeyman, basically.
He was only on the ballot for the Hall of Fame, I think, 2 times, and
Oh, he made it twice. Okay, he made it twice.
And but the Dodgers retired his number, and anyone who watched him pitch back then, you never forget him. He was amazing.
What is his Dodger career? 141 and 116. Yeah, he should be retired for the Dodgers team, right? 107 complete games, 3.3 ERA. Led the league in complete games 3 times, shutouts once. Yeah, double digits in complete games 6 times. I mean, again, nobody throws complete games now. Led the league in strikeouts once. Yeah, I mean, definitely a Dodger Hall of Famer. No, I think that's a very fair statement. Definitely a Dodger Hall of Famer. I don't know if he's a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer, but he got some great years.
Listen, if he didn't hurt his shoulder or whatever that happened that year. He was definitely.
He looks like he's got a career similar. He's got like a Doc Gooden career, but maybe a little less wins. Maybe a little less.
Yeah, but wins. It's Doc Gooden's a little different. You can't really compare that.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying his career look. Let me get to a couple of questions before I go back to Valenzuela. I have Darkron's here at 4. You definitely know Darkron, and then I have Brandon Costelli, who's in the company of your friend Silas Walker. Brandon's here at 10:30, so I'm here twice tomorrow again. I was back with the UK wrestlers for the first time in 5 months. We had an event where we were supporting called Autism is Awesome with James Barris of CCW. We had a nice little 20-minute conversation there. So I'm here twice on Saturday. And thank you. Zilla is going to definitely be here for that. Joe Della's in the house. Joe Della's alive.
Joe Dell
is here at midnight. And hopefully the clock doesn't strike midnight on the Yankees. But Valenzuela passes away at the age of 63. Anything else you want to say on Valenzuela before I go to the next eulogy coming up here?
You have another eulogy? I have
The New York Mets.
another Yankee pitcher.
So who's the
passed
Yankee
away.
pitcher? Who's the Yankee pitcher?
Rudy May.
Okay,
He,
Rudy May. Was
he
he
was
70
80 years
pitcher?
old.
He
He
pitched in the
he
70s?
led the league with in ERA 2.46 when he was with the Yankees.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
But he was a career 152 and 156 record. But George Steinbrenner actually liked him. And,
Journeyman, kind of, right? Journeyman pitcher?
Yeah.
Not
middle
a
of
bad
rotation
career.
guy. Nothing. Not an ace.
152 and 156, but a 3.46 ERA is pretty good. But he, pitched some in relief, started. Yeah, not a bad career. Not a terrible career.
Hey, lasted 17 years. That's
ERA with the Expos.
That's a great career. When you last that long, even if you stink, that's still pretty good.
If you're in the major leagues for that long.
Yeah. That's pretty darn good.
He really pitched 16 years. He pitched 15 and then didn't pitch for 3, but he had a good career. I mean, I guess it's a better career than I looked at. I mean, he got a lot of years under 3. Pitched for the Yankees a couple of times, twice. Yeah, not a bad career, I guess. It's got a losing record with a 3.46 ERA. That's kind of weird. That's very
that means
weird.
He played for some bad teams, so.
Yeah, but he pitched for the Yankees. He pitched for Baltimore. Baltimore was good. Expos were good. Then. Yankees were good.
I have one complaint that I want to say. I hate looking at these career, at the stats, and for the Expos it says Washington, because they didn't pitch for Washington. Like if you look at Gary Carter's card, it says Washington.
Well, Baseball Reference has it Montreal. What are you referring to? I'm
Baseball Reference has it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad. Yeah, they do, but there's other ones that don't, that have, and they do it for all these teams now. I think that's ridiculous. I just wanted to say that it's so stupid.
Right. Because when they did pitch for them, it was Montreal. It was the Expos. It wasn't.
Yeah, I was looking at that today. I forgot what source.
Fernando was a monster pitcher. Yeah, I mean, his career was great. I'm not saying
those first 8 years he was on a Hall of Fame track for sure.
He definitely was.
I guess like a Don Mattingly type, right? Don Mattingly was great for like 5 or 6 years, and then the rest of his career, falls off. I mean, Mattingly got a lot more Hall of Fame consideration, I take it, versus Fernando. But 173 wins today, you might make the Hall of Fame.
Was Fernando the first Mexican-born player?
Yeah.
No, right? Oh, he was.
No, I think he
2 no-hitters. I didn't know that. He had 2.
Yeah.
Because Marichal was what?
Nicaraguan? Nicaragua?
Puerto Rican, maybe?
Was he Nicaragua?
He was, Fernando.
Fernando was Mexican. I know that, but
yeah, he was Mexican. Yes, definitely was Mexican.
He was the first Mexican? Fernando?
He was the first Mexican for. Let's look.
Nah, it had to have been more Mexican.
Juan Marichal was Dominican.
Okay.
Dominican, that's it.
I was going to say, because that wouldn't make any sense to me. That would make no sense. I would think there would have been Mexican players before Fernando. Took an 81, right? He debuted 80, 81.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like that. Yeah.
173 and 153 with a 3.5 ERA. Not a bad career. Today it'd be a Hall of Fame. Sorry, Zilla apologizes about the Yankees for you, Chris. She's not a baseball fan, but she says sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Zilla. Zilla's been here the whole night. 2 no-hitters for Fernando. Yeah, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
Definitely not. Yeah.
No, he's not a Hall of Famer.
And Rudy May, you made me think his career was better than what I originally thought, because the ERA was really good. 3.46. Record was probably maybe he deserved another 30 wins, 152 and 156.
Fernando's he's the leader in everything, Mexican born.
Yeah.
It wins.
That's probably what it is.
I don't say there's a guy named
2,000 plus strikeouts. Right, got 2,000 strikeouts.
Yep.
It's a good career.
Almost 3,000 innings too.
Well, he won the Gold Glove in '86.
There you go.
20 wins in the season.
And he was a 2-time Silver Slugger Award winner, 81 and 83.
Wow.
I'm trying to remember. I remember that he was a decent hitter as a pitcher.
But he's got 6 great years. 6 great years. Not a
World
Hall of Famer.
Series champion, 1981. That's right.
2-time world champion, right? 2 times. Is he a 2-time world champion?
No,
He wasn't a Dodger in '88.
No, he wasn't a Dodger.
You sure about that?
I think he got traded. No, he wasn't a Dodger. No, he was a Dodger. No, he was on the team, but he was injured.
Yeah, that's right. He was a Dodger. He was a Dodger 2 World Series.
Yeah, but he didn't play in the postseason.
But he's got a ring. He's on the team. He's got a ring. 2 World Championships.
Yeah, that's like that. That's like DeGrom's got a ring. Yes.
Yeah, but he's there. He pitched in that season. But yeah, I mean, look, it's 60 years. He's a young guy. All right.
According to the baseballalmanac.com, there's a guy that debuted in 1933 from Huatabampo, Sonora, Mexico. His name is Mel Almada. Sorry if I ruined this.
I'm sure Mel is listening to us right now. The 70-plus people watching this right now.
He played for the Boston Red Sox. He was
something.
Right. He wasn't a pitcher. He was an outfielder, first pitcher.
Joe Dell's here. Reminds
so
me
he's a pitcher.
If Joe Dell's here, reminds me of the Rush song, Something for Nothing. You don't get something for nothing. That's what that reminds me of. But, I'm sure Mel will be listening to us on Sportswire. But, Valenzuela, very sorry about his loss. 63. Yes. Thoughts and prayers to the Dodgers fans for that loss. For this one here, we'll move on there. What do I got here? Okay, baseball players from Mexico. I'll read it off before I get.
No, you don't have to read them all off.
No, some of the names I'll read off that I think are names that are memorable. Let me see who's memorable here. Jorge Orta, he seems like memorable. 16 years he pitched. He played in the big leagues. That's pretty memorable. He had 1,600 hits. That's not bad. 130 home runs in his career. That's pretty memorable. Who else do I know? Who else do I know?
Remember him from the Rockies?
Vinny Castilla, remember. Yeah, he was a guy who had some big Blake Street bombers. He was a big name. Yeah, that was Valenzuela. Got him. Teddy Higuera, I remember him. Won 20 games. Yes. Okay, well, that's a name.
I think was he a Cy Young award for Milwaukee? No,
he had he was good. He had 90 wins, 94 wins. All right, that's a name I remember. Vicente Palacios, sort of remember him a little bit. Journeyman. Okay, remember him a little bit. Other Mexican players I remember. Armando Reynoso. Didn't he play for the Mets? Yeah, he did. I remember him. Yes, he played for the Mets. Armando Reynoso, former Met. Remember him?
Played for the Mets.
He was okay. He was all right. All right. He was another one I remember. Vinny Castilla, definitely remember him. Yeah, Vinny Castilla had some monster years. Yeah, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of 100 runs batted in. But keep in mind, he played for the Rockies. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of 30-plus home runs. I mean, he's, an all-time great Mexican player. I got that. Any other names I remember? That was Ismael Valdez. Ismael Valdez had a good career. Dodgers. Very good career. He was 100 wins.
Rob will remember this guy, Aurelio Rodriguez.
Yes, I remember. Yeah,
he was on that Tiger great team, 84.
Yep. I remember him.
I think, or no, yeah. Wasn't he?
Kareem Garcia. I remember Kareem Garcia. He was a Met and Yankee, right? Yeah, Met and Yankee. Kareem Garcia. I remember him.
Kareem Garcia. Did he also play for the Orioles too?
Yeah, he played for the Orioles. He was a journeyman. Yeah. He played. Remember him. Francisco Cordova. Not really. Elmer Descends. I remember him. Who's the big names? Denny Reyes. I remember him. Yeah, he was around. Yeah, journeyman bullpen player. Who else is big?
Was this guy Ruben Amaro? Was he related to the?
I think so. The Phillies. I think
GM
so.
For a while.
Oh, here's one. Do you know they say he's active? Oliver Perez. He's not active.
Oli Perez.
He's still playing apparently somewhere, but he played that long. Holy shoot, he played.
Yeah. Oli Perez played for a long time.
21 years.
I think he played last year, didn't he, or the year before?
Yeah, or the year before. Yes.
2022.
Yep.
Wow, 20. I did not realize he hung on that long,
That's
21 years.
that's pretty amazing if you think about it.
That's
Hollywood
pretty.
Classic.
Yeah, that's pretty big. Yeah. Who else we got here? Let's go to big names.
Because he wasn't really that good to last that long.
Yeah.
If you think
No,
about it.
but he just
He
he
just
just kept
lasted.
hanging on.
Yeah, I mean, hey, good for him.
All right, I got the point. I got enough of these Mexican baseball
Okay.
players. They had great careers. Thank you for tuning in about that. They had great careers. I got them. Appreciate that. Rob, in the interest of the show and time length, speaking of eulogies, there's one that I know you want to get off your chest, and that's the New York Mets season. Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? It's almost a week already. I was so bummed when me and Chris did that show. I was bummed even
Yeah,
though
you
we
did it
couldn't
on a Monday.
Yeah, we did it. Joe Dell said you sounded bummed, but I think I sounded pretty good.
You sounded okay. I don't feel like you were like depressed, like you're gonna write like an REM song.
It didn't feel like 2006 or 2000 or 2015 when they lost against Kansas City in the World Series, because we did not expect them to go this far. They gave us let's face it, they were the most exciting team in the postseason. Okay.
Yeah,
I
agree with that.
All right. It was just an amazing run. And, you know, you got to be proud of them because they were dead in April and May. They were just dead. And then they
were dead even going into the last 2 games of the regular season, Mets and Braves. They were lifeless that first game of the doubleheader. They were lifeless.
And then, boom, you know, Lindor hits that home run and they just took off. It was just, listen, it was a fun October. It gave everyone a taste. And Steve Cohen,
Mets played meaningful October baseball.
He definitely wants the Mets. He wants a winner. So he tasted, you know, he really tasted, because 2022, let's face it, against the Padres, they died.
Listen, this was the first meaningful October baseball the Mets have played since 2015. 2016 was the 1-game wild card.
Yeah.
22 was the short series against the Padres. You lost the 2 out of 3. This was the first meaningful October baseball the Mets have played since 2015. That's really what it comes down to.
Exactly. And it was fun. He liked it as the owner. The Mets have a lot of money coming off of the books, you know, with Verlander and Scherzer, their contracts. So the Mets have some money to spend. Let's see what happens in the offseason. We'll talk about it on our show after the World Series.
Right.
And, you know, listen, I can't complain because we did not think we were going to be talking about the Mets in October. So, you know what?
I think that was the whole thing. The Mets, when you look back on this season, even I'll go back to before it was Hurricane Helene, and the Mets lost the first game in Atlanta, and then the Mets didn't play Wednesday, Thursday, had to fly to Milwaukee.
Yep.
Lose the first 2 games in Milwaukee, but Atlanta loses. Atlanta wins, but Arizona loses 2 games to San Diego, which gives the Mets a chance. And the Mets win the last game in Milwaukee to give themselves a chance to go out not having to win both games of the doubleheader.
Yeah.
And they're down, was it 3-0 in the game in Atlanta? And the Mets find a way to come back, take the lead. They give it up, but they come back in the top of the ninth to win it. So the Mets really were dead in my mind that weekend, even Monday, first game of the doubleheader. Milwaukee, Mets blow the second game. They're in the lead, give it up. And then the third game, the Mets, in the 9th inning, it looks like season's over. It was a great season, and Pete Alonso hits a home run that they'll talk about probably for 30, 40 years as Met fans. And then the Mets go into Philadelphia, win the first game, kind of ironic with Milwaukee, very similar, lose the second game in tough fashion, but come back in a raucous Citi Field crowd, win that series. And, you know, they ran with the Dodgers, and luck basically turned midnight.
Ran out.
Turned midnight, but the Mets left 56 runners on base. 56
yeah,
runners on base.
Yeah, that's what the problem was with that series. 2 problems.
Walked
They left
40
too
was
many
40
walks.
plus batters, 40 plus batters, 56 runners on base. I felt Game 4 was the swing game. That was the game. Mets tie it early, had bases loaded. I think 2 times in the game, had left.
Yep.
I think 10 runners on at 10 or 11 runners on base, maybe more, and Dodgers win that game convincingly. But the Mets, they score with the bases loaded in the second inning. It's a different series. You could have been talking about maybe the Mets could have had a 3-2 lead going into Los Angeles. But to me, they just, unfortunately, it ran out. They just, the clock struck midnight on the Mets, and the Mets had, a really good season. It was a lot to be proud of. I think obviously question marks to be what happens with McNeil's a free agent, right? Is McNeil a free agent?
No. Alonso
Martinez. Manaya's got an opt out, right? You can opt out.
Yes.
So you have to figure out what are you going to do with those guys. You have to figure out Alonso. You're going to re-up him, I would imagine. You said 80 to 90% chance he comes back. I don't know if it's that high.
I don't know if it's that high. Remember, Boris is his agent, so you got to deal with that.
Some team might offer him a big deal because of the postseason he had. He had a good postseason. Unlike Judge so far, he had a good postseason. He had some big home runs. Martinez we spoke about, probably meh. I don't really think I need him back. Maybe Vientos, you slot him. You guys talked about maybe doing different things with him. But I think Manaea, you got to do whatever you can for Sean Manaea to get him back on this team because he was a key part to the rotation. Mets need Severino.
If not, I think another guy, Corbin Burns, I would go big for.
I feel like Severino's not coming back on this team. He got a 1 year, $10 million?
Yeah.
So what's he going to want? A 3-year deal?
Like
3-year deal?
I wouldn't sign him to a multi-year deal. I'll be honest. No. I'd be too afraid.
Severino had a good year,
Burns. If I'm the Mets, I'm going big. I'll go for Burns.
But didn't Burns struggle a little bit in the second half?
No, I think he was still pretty good. He had a couple of, if he starts, but.
Hey, Tom, Jimmy the doorman keeps talking about Corbin Burns every day. The Mets got to get him.
He reads the paper. Was the guy we know. He reads the paper and says, okay, we got to get this guy. Yeah, it's an interesting guy.
I was going to say, the good thing, even if you want to move Vientos to first, and you could still sign Alonso, because now you got the DH spot opened up. So you could always move those guys back and forth with DH. You know what I mean?
I don't think Martinez should come back. He didn't really have a great year. Severino, to me, is good. Somebody's going to break the bank for him. He came back and had a really good year. He had a very good year. He was 11-7, 3.9 ERA. He averaged just about 6 innings a start. Hits were 166. Walks were 60. Walks were not that bad. I mean, I think
he didn't have a spring training, right?
Yeah, he didn't.
Late.
I think the Mets are going to have to give him 3 for 60. I mean, I don't know.
JD? No. Who are you talking about?
No, Severino.
Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Severino's going to want $20 million a year. He had a really good.
I would not give him 3 years. No.
Somebody's going to sign him. Somebody's going to sign him.
Yeah, no, I agree, but it wouldn't be me. You know what I mean?
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying. And as for Martinez's year really, wasn't a bad year, but it wasn't like he usually has. 16 home runs, 69 RBIs. Again, he started the year late. 406 slugging, 725 OPS. Meh. 16 home runs, 69 RBIs.
He was good in the clubhouse, though. Remember that he was good with the younger players. He really was good with them.
But I wouldn't give him any more than a 1-year deal. If he wants to come back, it's got to be 1 year. He's 36.
I don't even think he's coming back to the Mets, but who knows?
And we have Bader for another year. We have Harrison.
You know what? I think he's a free agent.
I think
that was my next one to mention.
Yeah, he is a free because they signed him to 1 year also.
I think I'd bring Bader back over Martinez because Bader's got a good glove. He's, I think, a little bit better than his stats. He had 17, 18 stolen bases. I would bring him back over Martinez. Joe Dell says Chris said it best. 2 games from the World Series by a team that looked like they weren't going to make it to the playoffs at one point. Exactly. That's the Mets season in a nutshell. The Mets were a team that didn't belong in the postseason, and they were within 2 wins away from the World, and they were winning 1-0, winning 1-0 Game 6. But the Mets, that was the only game that changed the leads. Only
Yep.
one. The only one.
It was.
The rest of these games didn't. That was the only one. But yeah, Mets have a lot, I think, to look forward to. Vientos for a full year is going to be exciting. Lindor had an MVP-like season, won't get it. You want to see McNeil bounce back. I think that's the one I'd be looking at. Alvarez had his playoff was really horrible, but he had a really bad season, but got hot late. He had like 5 home runs the first 5 months of the season, and hit a bunch of them late. You like to see more power from him. Nimmo had an okay year. Okay. Okay. Marte, you have him for another year?
Marte another year, yeah.
Marte's, again, whatever you can get out of him. You have a lot of guys, what do you get from Iglesias? I mean, Iglesias was a godsend for this team. We look back on this team for this season.
That's incredible.
Jose Iglesias. How on God's green earth did that guy? He got hit after hit after hit.
Well, do you guys think what's his name, Acuna, and you think Mauricio? You think those guys are going to be starters on your team next year?
Well, let's see how he comes back after that injury. We have to see what happens with him. Acuna, I don't know if he's going to be a starter, but you know what? He has a good chance of starting in April. We'll see what happens. We don't know. We have to see what happens in the offseason. Remember, they may trade a couple of these guys. So we don't know yet. They might trade Mauricio. Who knows? We don't know.
Well, look, Iglesias, to me, Jose Iglesias, I mean, that was just out of thin air. That was just a guy that, I don't know how he
was ready to quit because
I still can't explain that. This guy came out of nowhere, was like,
and then he has a hit single.
It was like Tony Gwynn. We had Tony, the Mets finally got Tony Gwynn. It was Jose Iglesias 20 years later. Who would have guessed?
It's
the Mets
crazy.
have some question marks. It was a strong season. I think that we'll talk a lot about that in the offseason. I appreciate that. Let's hope the Yankees bounce back. So let's go with this before closing thoughts. Chris, give me 1 or 2 keys that you think the Yankees need in order to bounce back, win, and get back into this series.
For tomorrow, definitely Rodon has to come out just like Cole did. Give you 6 innings of 1 run or shutout ball or even 2 runs. And on the offensive side, I mean, it starts with Judge, right? It's simple. Judge has to get going. Even Soto did nothing tonight too, really. No. And defensively, he kind of gave up that run. If you want to, that on the sack fly, he didn't. That was if Judge was out there, could he have thrown him out? Maybe, but whatever. But I'm telling you, those 2 guys obviously have to get going. Forget about everything else. Those guys got to start hitting. It's as simple as that. I mean, I don't think it gets any more complicated or anything. Those guys got to get going.
It's a good point. I want to say hello to my man, Mr. Big Tex, who I know is going to be in my chat a couple of times this weekend and Tuesday, because tomorrow night, Big Tex, your champion, Brandon Castelli, is here at 10:30, and then Tuesday, I think it's at 9:00. That guy, Silas Walker, is going to be here. So I'm sure we'll talk about that in them. But he wants to say this, though. I feel like this World Series is basically who can spend the most money to get players. I mean, the Yankees and Dodgers have the most expensive players, right? Yamamoto, Ohtani, Judge, eventually Soto after this offseason, Cole. So, I mean, he ain't wrong. I mean, you want to tell him he's wrong?
Technically, who's got the highest payroll?
We know who has the highest.
Okay, so that's technically. Dodgers are only 5th in payroll this year.
Because of one player doing, let's just say, some
whatever they did, they figured it out, right?
Some clever accounting. Clever accounting.
Top 5.
That's
Mets,
what it is, but they figured it out. Like Chris said, they figured it out.
Top 5 payroll: Mets, Yankees, Houston, Philly, Dodgers.
Houston was 3rd. I didn't realize Houston was 3rd. Wow. I knew Philly was up there, but Houston was 3rd. Wow. Houston was 3rd. I would not have guessed Houston third. That's just
And they got
fascinating.
Bregman as a free agent. You got Kyle Tucker as a free agent.
I think Houston's going to be ready.
Gone.
I don't think I really feel like this is the end
Yeah, me
of
too.
Houston. I just don't see.
This was the changing of the guard for the Astros.
Yes, I think Houston. They're on their moment. In fact, you actually have me looking. Yeah, I have Houston 5th at the start of the season, but you said they're 3rd. I had Texas. Okay, that made sense. Toronto. Okay, Toronto surprised me. The Braves 8th. That makes sense. Cubs, Giants. We knew we spent a lot. Angels 13th. Well, what a difference with that one player. Padres 14th. Padres were 14th. All right.
I would say the
dropped a
Cubs
lot.
were the biggest disappointment from
Yes.
payroll, right?
Yeah.
They were like
From
7th.
manager to players.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's fascinating, though. I'm looking at it. You look at this year, for example, the Orioles 27th were in the playoffs. The Tigers 24th in the playoffs. Milwaukee 23rd in the playoffs. Kansas City 21st. Kansas City, though, spent a lot more money than they've spent in a long time. I mean, Kansas City spent money they hadn't spent. I don't know if they spent this kind of money when they had the World Series teams. That was another. The Diamondbacks were 17th. But that's
2 teams. I'm going to be curious to see what they do this offseason. One team, Baltimore, because Baltimore's got the new owner, and he supposedly has deep pockets like Cohen does. Like he's rich in that stratosphere. So I don't know if he's going to spend that kind of money. And also Cincinnati, like now that they got Francona.
Yeah, you guys talked about him. And Cleveland was 28th. Cleveland was 28th.
Yeah, Cleveland never spends money.
No.
Yeah,
right? That's the reason why they traded you guys Lindor, because they didn't want to sign him.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
You know what? They've got to. Maybe these teams have a plan and they stick to it. So it shows you that
it works. To Cleveland, it works, right? Milwaukee,
Cleveland's been a pretty good. Cleveland and Milwaukee. If you look at the last decade, Milwaukee's been a playoff team. They don't go far, but they win. Cleveland's, had some good runs with Francona back in the LCS this year. Kansas City spent a little bit this year, I think, but I think that was by design because they're trying to get a new stadium. I think that's a part of it. I think, Detroit will be interesting to me because they had a really great season and they're a big market franchise. They have spent before,
right?
And Baltimore, I think Baltimore, you hit the nail on the head. Baltimore is the biggest wild card because
isn't Minnesota getting a new owner? Right, they're up for sale, or they were talking 20th. About possibly selling
20th in payroll. I don't know. Minnesota 20th in payroll, and Joe Dell says Lindor takes up most of the payroll. I don't think so. The Mets were $230 million. Where did you see?
A lot of it was Verlander and Scherzer.
Yeah, but they didn't make $100 million a year each. So Verlander and Scherzer were what, $40 million? So Lindor's what, $30+ million? So the other guys you spent.
Yeah, let's see. At the top, it's Lindor at $34 million. Then Marte makes 20. Alonso makes 20.
Is just
Nimmo makes 20.
Nimmo's a homegrown guy, Met guy. Mets fans love Nimmo.
Well, think about it. The money that you retained, you were paying Scherzer this year $30 million, Verlander $25 million, James McCann $8 million.
Oh my God, James McCann was one of the worst Met free agents.
$63 million of money that players are not on the team.
Well, those are names that just horrible names, just horrible.
Think of it this way: Senga was getting paid $15 million, and what'd he throw? One game for you, or 2 innings, whatever it was. That game.
Not even a game. Not even a game.
That's baseball for you. But I think we got the point on tonight. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about the free agents off season. We'll talk about the NFL. I don't know if we'll talk the NFL next week, but the following week we'll definitely talk some NFL because I have a feeling I'm still going to say Yankees are alive by next week, by next Friday. Dodgers are still competing, so we'll, I'm sure, recap some of that. That'll be Monday, Tuesday. That'll be by Friday.
6 Friday night.
Travel day, right? We have another travel day, right? Thursday's a travel day.
Yeah, so I think Game 6 Friday night. That'd be big.
So. Yeah, we'll talk about that regardless. So we'll talk Worlds, probably be more World Series talk, and then
we're gonna do a live from the bar. We'll be doing a live.
I gotta be honest, I can't. Well, right now, wrestling, I get offered all. Can you go to this state? They would stream it because I'll get the views. Duffy's, they're gonna look at me like they'll know me, but
Is
They
there
got
any
throw-
place in Staten Island that you could do backyard wrestling?
I
Like
got
it's-
asked that on my 1,000 subscribers show, and I'm like, not really. No,
No,
They
there's
don't do-
nothing going on.
There's
Huh?
no backyard wrestling in New York City. There was a backyard wrestling league 20 years ago. But they did it like in the parks, like in Manhattan. But
Wow.
Long Island was big for backyard wrestling years ago.
Oh, with Foley, right? Isn't that how?
No, even after that, there was a New York Times article, like in 2002. There was some backyard wrestling, but really in New York, it's only like upstate is. I have a couple feds from upstate that come here. We had a guy, Stephen Havoc, who's in the Hall of Fame, but they're more like upstate. Upstate has it because the property, the space. You don't have it here in Brooklyn. In Brooklyn and Staten Island, you can't go. Oh, I'm going to put a ring in my yard. Get out of here!
You have no back. You're lucky if you have a backyard in Brooklyn or Staten Island.
Well, they had Marine Park. There's yards. Manhattan Beach. Manhattan Beach is definitely has yards. Manhattan Beach is like forget about it. You could do it in Manhattan Beach.
Especially if you don't have a pool. If you have a pool, that's like your backyard.
Mill Basin and Bergen Beach, you could do it. Diker Heights, you could do something. Pockets of Bay Ridge, you could put a ring up. Very but 5 blocks with the mansions, but really, it wouldn't go over well. Even Staten Island, we have yards. I could theoretically fit a wrestling ring, but people are going to look at you and what the hell are you doing? The police would be called and they would it's different in these places. The reason it works, Big Tex will tell you, we have yards in Marine Park. Yes, we have them. But it's not like you couldn't put a ring. You couldn't put a ring up there. You couldn't put a ring. And even you couldn't put a ring up there in like my yard to put a ring up. The police would be called. Neighbors would be like, what's wrong with
cops. Yeah, what are you doing? Take that down.
Exactly. They would be like,
you have
forget
a permit for that? They'd be like, you have a permit for that?
That's what they would say.
Yeah.
No, forget it.
Right.
They would throw you in jail for having backyard wrestling. They would. No, I swear to God, they would. It's different though, like I said, in like upstate, the more rural parts of the state, because they can kind of have the space, they have the property. New Jersey has backyard wrestling, but really in New York City, it's just
Have you been asked to go to any of these places to do?
Oh my God, I get asked to go to so many.
Yeah.
I get asked to go to overseas. I get asked to go everywhere.
Wow.
They would stream the shows. Oh my God. I get asked all the time, but to do something local to be streamed, there's some people in the street that know I do the podcast. A couple people here and there. Yeah, I've seen you on YouTube, but like I could never do a stream at a bar or in the restaurant. No, it's not really. I mean, but like I get asked to go. I was invited to Buffalo. I was invited to let me think.
That's a
Amsterdam.
Trip.
Yeah, it's not worth my time. I've been invited to Pennsylvania. Big Tex knows. I've been invited to Maryland. I get invited all over the place, but
any places in Jersey? Because Jersey's not that far.
I have one company that comes on. That's Jersey. I have 1 yard company sort of, but they're trampoline. But yeah, I have Jersey. I have Pennsylvania. I have Maryland, Iowa, Michigan. I have Ohio. I'm big in Ohio. I have, I still have Tennessee. I have 1 good company in Tennessee. I can't say not every bad, not TBW. Resurrection's okay. No, Resurrection's okay. They work with us. Alabama. I have Alabama. So I have a lot of states, a lot of great. I have North Dakota. We have our friends, LBYW. Yeah, I get asked all the time with those places. But, it's hard. It's a hard thing. But, yeah, Marine Park, we have yards. No, Marine Park in Staten Island are about the same. Garrison Beach, you could throw it. But, again, police, that's not going to work. Yeah, SSW and SI. Yeah, SWW is good. Great. I know you're talking about. But let's get to closing thoughts here. I appreciate it. Rob, I'm going with you first. I know we'll do a contest, right? We got a contest winner eventually, right, and such, right?
Next week I'll name it. Yeah, I'll just wait for after the World Series for the Attorney.
Okay, so give me the floor. Let me get your closing thoughts, and we'll go from there.
Okay, real quick. Like I said, the Mets gave us an exciting October. It's disappointing that they're not in the World Series. I wanted to see a Subway Series. Chris didn't want to go through that pressure.
Well, he's going through this right now, losing the first global Grand Slam in history. So maybe he'd like to do over on that.
But it was fun. And as far as the Yankees go, it starts and ends with Judge. That guy's got to start hitting, He really does, because if he doesn't, we know what happened to A-Rod, what they said about A-Rod in the postseason. So Judge is going to have to start hitting in the postseason. If his back comes alive for the rest of the series and the Yankees are in it, him and Soto, Stanton, if those guys start hitting all together, then, it's going to be a great series. Right now, they're down. What happened tonight is the worst way you could lose, of course, but it's only game one. That's it. It's game one. They're professionals. Go to the ballpark tomorrow. It's a new day. Start over. Can't go home down 2. No way. It'll be crazy at Yankee Stadium, but you don't want to go home down 2. And that's it.
I couldn't agree more on that. I do think it's a big game for the Yankees, and I think it's a must-win. Rob's on X. He's on Facebook. It's New York MLB Talk as well. Check them out. So thank you, Rob, for that. We'll definitely get into football for sure. Not next week, the following week, because there'll be no real baseball talk after that. So, Chris, I'm going to pass the baton to you, give you some close. I got your Liftoff Jet show. I'm going to play that Sunday. So I look forward to that, as I definitely don't want to talk football right now, especially after the Jets. So we'll just stick with baseball. Hopefully we'll have a Game 6 World Series to talk about. Or maybe the Yankees will win the next 4 games. Who knows? But until then, let me pass the baton to you, give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Tom. Rob, great show. Yeah, you know what? I think Rob said it right. It's only game 1. It's only the first game. They got to put it in the rearview mirror. Just that's it. It's over, and move on to game 2. And, like I said earlier, man, Judge has to break out. He has to lead this team to a championship. There's no way they're going to win without him hitting. So I think he's got to be a major part of this team. Him and Soto, Stanton is just unbelievable. So we'll see. And it's got to start with Rodon, obviously, on the mound, just like with Cole tonight. Rodon's got to give you 5, 6, really good, solid innings. No runs, 1 run, 2 runs. That's about it. So it's as simple as that. Hopefully we'll be talking about, if we come on next Friday night, it'd be great.
Oh, we'll be here. I'm here Friday night. I'm just a matter of, are we talking a World Series Game 6?
It would be great. I would love it if the Yankees win in 5. It would be even better. But I have a feeling it's going to go 7. I said Yankees.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think the Yankees are going to win at least 2 in the Bronx. So I think we're going to have a Game 6, no matter what. I don't think the Yankees are going to it's going to be a series where this is going to go short. I think the Yankees can win today. I think they can get at least 2 in the Bronx. So I think my gut says we're going to be talking about a Game 6. That's what I think. I could be wrong. I know nothing about baseball and sports, but I'm going to say Game 6 we'll be here for. I'm saying.
I'm with you. I totally agree. I think that's what's going to happen. So buckle in.
I'm definitely buckling in. Listen, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I've really enjoyed the baseball season, the playoffs. I've watched a lot of it. I really haven't paid attention to the NFL. I know what's going on, but I'll probably pay attention to it more after next week. We'll talk more football. And I know guys like Alan Michaels want to join us for football, but I'm like, listen, I'm talking baseball right now. So we'll see what happens. That's Chris on X. Also, New York MLB Talk. I want to thank everybody in the chat that was here. Menachem from Marine Park. I still wonder, where in Marine Park are you from? But I'll leave that for a different conversation for a different time. Yeah, it was a great show. We had fun. It was kind of sucked, though, to see the Yankees lose live on the air like that. But we did have fun. We thank you, Joe Dell. Zilla was here. Big Tex will be here tomorrow. I know Joey Bostrom was here. A lot of people from my buddy Barry Gutman was here. A lot of people were here. So we appreciate all of them. Like I said, I'm here twice coming up today. So catch me 4 o'clock Eastern time, catch me 10:30. And this was here, the New York MLB Talk guys, Chris Bazaya, Rob Maraska. Chris also hosts the Liftoff Jets with Charmin Phillip. You'll hear that on sportswireradio.org Sunday. And Rob is also our longest tenured analyst, the Grim Reaper of Sportswire Radio. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters and all sports matters. And if you're on sportswireradio.org, you're going back to your regular scheduled programming. But until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on Sportswire Radio. And Joe Dell, thank you for putting our intro and closing music to the New York MLB Talk. Enjoy that. Yeah. Definitely hosted by Rob Maraska and Chris Bazaya. But until then, I'll see everybody tomorrow, and good night.